Good morning, everybody. Mark is driving, and I'm going to be starting Hash Church, so give me a second and let me send out the link to everybody. I hope you are all having a great day. I hope everybody's doing great today, regardless of the political climate we're all freaking out about. And hopefully we have a few people joining us pretty soon. Yeah, hey, I know you.
Well, good morning, Todd. Me?
Good morning, Dustin. Oh.
Good morning. Good morning, Hash Church. How's everybody doing today? Good morning, Todd. Good morning, Bubble Man on the road. Woohoo!
Yeah, dude. I'm 15 minutes away from my house, racing back to the computer to make Hash Church. And, of course, Todd McCormick's got my back. He's come in as Bubble Man's World today, and he's started Hash Church. So I'll be quiet, but thank you for the link, Todd.
I'm glad it worked, actually. I'm pretty thrilled. This is probably the only time I get anxiety doing Hash Church.
Well, good morning, Todd. You're doing a great job. And maybe John and I will take over with some conversation, because yesterday I saw a video of Johnny getting pulled over by the Popo. And I saw you the beginning and the end of it. I didn't catch the middle when they were going through your car, but you want to tell everybody about what went down to kind of kill some time?
Oh, pretty much basic, easy, and simple. This happened with me and my father that we talked about 6 months ago, driving down the freeway. This was with my dad. You guys remember I did a live little video about that. The same thing happened yesterday. I'm driving home from my warehouse. I'm on a side road. I see a cop beside me. He's in an SUV. I didn't care. I just keep driving. I'm doing the speed limit. So he slows down and gets behind me. He starts swerving all over the road because he's one-handing it and Googling me, right? Then we go over the freeway. I make a right at a green light. I go around. I was talking about 15, 16 car lengths later. I go around a school, and then he turns on his lights. He goes, "You just ran a red light." I'm like, "No, I didn't." Goes to the passenger side of the car, open up the window, and right away goes, "It smells like weed in here." I'm like, "That's impossible." Well, whatever. And you got any weed paraphernalia in here, something like that? The whole back of my car is full of medtainers, toca pokers, bovina. I mean, it's like, no. I said, I'm a distributor. I sell plastic containers. I said, yeah, I got all kinds of stuff in here geared towards hardware. And he goes, well, it smells like weed here. So I hand him an XL medtainer. I'm like, well, it's airtight in here. You can't smell it. He opens it up and goes, woo, and hands it back to me. Asked me for my paperwork. I says, well, I'm protected underneath the injunction. I haven't got a card or a piece of paper from Health Canada since 2012. I says, I don't have anything. I says, I'm a legal medical cannabis patient. But I have to inform you you're under arrest. I said, okay. Because I got to call Health Canada. So he goes to the back of the car. I decide, screw this. Facebook Live. I throw it up on the thing because I could feel something's going on, right? He's adjusting the camera in the back of his car. The cop car pulls up. He's putting on his gloves. I'm like, okay, here's some shit. Let's have some fun. So then he proceeds. He goes, we'll get out of the car. You're under arrest. We're searching the car. I said, oh, I found my card. I give him my MMAR card. I go, I had my wallet. He proceeds to put me in the back of the car with a cop dog. Now, I'm in the back of a okay, this is biz. I'm in Abbotsford. We have our own police force here, Abbotsford Police. But I am in the back of an RCMP cop dog SUV. He says he's a traffic cop. So as I'm sitting in the back of his cop car, I'm looking at his computer screen, marijuana grow on duty, trunk suspected, pulled over with marijuana grow. He was a drug cop. He ran my plate. He pulled me over for no apparent reason. They searched my car, hoping they would find anything. And at that point, when he saw he was Facebook Live, got a little bit pissed off, gave me a $75 ticket for running a red light I never ran, and said, have a good day. That was about it. just pure harassment. So I talked to Robert Laurie, a lawyer of ours last night after. He called me twice while the cop was looking at the camera. He's looking at the phone. That's because the lawyer was calling him. But anyways, long story short, I'm gonna take it to court. He gave me a ticket. I'm gonna fight it, and I'm gonna find out why I keep getting pulled over for no apparent reason, and why they keep going up to my car and go, "It smells like pot." As one thing I do not do is I do not smoke weed in my new car that could go over the border. That's a lease. It's a company car. I do not smoke in a company car. No way. Mark knows that. Everybody knows that. I don't smoke in my car. There's no way it smells like weed in my car. It was in a med-tainer. So it's just, you know what, little bit of lesson to the cop, and of course the 18,000 plus viewers that have watched it in the last like 12 hours. So I'm pretty sure they're getting a little bit of a lesson. You can't be pulling over people for no apparent reason, saying it smells like weed, and then detaining me and completely. They took out the back tire. They took out a knife. They cut a toke poker box open. They thought these little boxes I had toke pokers in were full of weed. They cut open a Bovida box. Like literally stuck a knife in it and cut it open. Like didn't like take the tape off. I watched them cut it open.
Did they damage any of your product?
No. It's cut the boxes open.
So I caught the end of it, of your video, where you said you were going to go back and watch them searching your car. Did you find anything funny or interesting when you went back and searched it?
I haven't had a chance to. Everybody's telling me about it. Got home. I went to. I was busy. I woke up this morning running around. I started watching a tiny bit, and he's in the window like. So I'm watching, but I want to listen to what he was saying and stuff like that. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but
did you like the meme I sent you, Johnny?
I thought that was awesome. And you know what? It just goes to show you. I mean, we're not being protected here in Canada. That was RCMP in Abbotsford jurisdiction. That was a drug cop. He was here investigating other things. He ran my number on my plate. My plate is a company car. It comes up as my company. Doesn't come up my name, nothing. So, and that's a brand new car. It's 3 weeks old. It's got a new lease.
What does your company? What's your company name listed as?
Oh, Green Planet Store Limited.
Well, there you go. No wonder.
So it's the Green Planet, right? It's all about the green. So it's just, you know, it was. He was really nice about it. You know, he's kind of being all cool. He shows me. I said, be careful. I got some electric fees. He goes, well, I'm not going to throw it on the ground. I said, I don't want to be thrown on the ground. I won't handcuff you, put me in the back car. So he's being all good about everything. He was just kind of doing his job in a sense. But when he found out he was live on Facebook, his attitude completely changed. He was not happy.
Yeah, they don't like the attention.
It's showing what they're doing is pure harassment. I had done nothing wrong. He Googled my name. He found my name was John Bartholomew, a cannabis activist, and he pulled me over, hoping he might find something in my car that might get me in trouble in some way or another. And guess what? Why would I do something stupid like that? I already know I'm high profile. I already know what I do. I stand up for patients' rights and for cannabis. Basically, that's what I do. So, I mean, it's happened to me a couple times now, and I had friends call me and goes, well, that's what you get for being an activist. Told you. I'll fucking do it every day. If they want to pull me over every day, we'll sit down every day for an hour and have a chat. And I'll film it all the time.
That's what you get when you're an activist. That's right up there with saying,
like, what does that mean?
Are wearing short skirts, so maybe they better, like, no. It's people's fucked up behaviors that's the reason why you're suffering. It has nothing to do with being an activist. You're fighting the good fight.
I know, that's what I mean. I'm only doing what I feel is right. I'm doing nothing wrong. I will do it tomorrow. The next day, I'll go and do it right now.
John, next time, ask the policeman, do you think it's harassment that I'm putting you live on Facebook?
No, he didn't know. I was purely hiding that from him. That's why I had it set up in the car. It looked like it was a dash cam, right? So
I'll bet you he would think it was harassment, yet he didn't think it was harassment what he was doing to you.
Exactly. You know, for them to be searching my car like that, like, I mean, literally, I would watch them in the back seat. He's pulling things down. Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for like something this big? Come on. Like, the way they were searching for things, what are you looking for? You should be looking for more than 150 grams a week, because that's all I'm only allowed to carry. So when you're opening up little containers like this, going, what are you looking for?
It goes to show there's a real sort of missing piece in the Canadian federal exemption of cannabis, because how are we supposed to feel safe when they don't give us cars, papers that, you know, are very hard to carry around. If you fold them up, they get old, they get ruined. How are we supposed to prove to police that we have these licenses when they won't even send us a frigging card?
This is the biggest thing, and I've been talking to people about this all morning on Facebook. Okay, so I'm protected underneath the MMR Coalition Against Repel. That is an injunction. And I was protected since 2012 until the court date happened, and we got the decision on February 25th last year. We won our right to grow our own. That's great. I have never received a letter from Health Canada stating what I'm supposed to do next. So until such time, I'm still protected under the old MMAR. I still have my card. Nothing has changed. So in other words, up until I get something from Health Canada, and not everybody telling me, or not the news, because I might not have the news, I might not listen to the radio, I should be waiting for something from Health Canada telling me what I'm supposed to do next. So until such time, my license protects me. The AMCPR, I can apply for it if I choose, if I want to move my license, want to change my license, or up my ground or something like that. So until such time I decide to do that, I am still protected under the MMAR. I still have my card. I never have to see a doctor again, and I'm not doing nothing because the cop let me go with my old card and said, you're fine.
Okay, I have a question then, Johnny. Okay, since you said you didn't originally have your card on you, okay, so then he was going to call into what, the Health Canada system, and then you should, so that's their check-in system, because part of my ignorance here. Okay, so there, if you're an LP or a patient, you're in the system. So if an RCMP runs your name or your license, then you come up in the system.
Well, I believe there's something on those computers, and I talked to Lori about that last night, because when they ran my plate, that cop was all over the road, happened with my father. They pulled me over knowing that I was using cannabis or anything to do with cannabis. They pulled me over for that reason. They didn't pull me over because I ran a red light. My dad laughed. Last time they pulled me over was for driving too slow in the fast lane.
Yeah, you're online. You're on camera.
Like, ridiculous, right? So.
It's really, it's really frustrating to see, you know, what you went through yesterday there.
And to me, and like my girlfriend says, she goes, you got off on that because you were like vibing, like I'm like, yeah, because I was proving a point. I've done nothing wrong. I'm not doing anything wrong. They pull me over. They search my car. They put me in the back of a police car. They detain me, and at the end of it, they're like, "We're sorry." Kind of like WCB, like, "Oh, we're sorry. We missed that."
They actually apologized.
Oh no, he didn't apologize, but he's like, you can go back to your Facebook friends and say, oh yeah, well, you got all mad. I'm giving you a ticket for what? Well, I pulled you over. They wasted 2 cops. They sat there pulling on the side of the road for an hour and a half. What do they make? 30, 40 bucks an hour? Like, I mean, come on. This is a cop who is fully trained in tactical gear. He's got a shotgun and he's got a cop dog in there. He's got me pulled over on the side of the road. What a waste of time. I can't believe
it makes me wonder though how many like once you're in their system, if you're literally in their system, obviously
I believe I am.
A green flag pops up, you know, and it might not even have anything to do with your YouTube presence or your activism. It might just be the fact that you're enrolled in the medical program, and that alerts them to the fact that you could be a drug driver.
See, that could be another thing, Tom, but one thing he never did is ask me if I was impaired, ask me if I was smoking, and he handed me back my weed. He goes, here you go, and then he goes, I'm being charged for cannabis possession. As he gave me my weed back. Here you go, you can have it, but I'm charging with cannabis possession. He didn't ask me if I smoked. He didn't ask me when the last time I used, and he did not smell my breath. So he's not looking for that.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, you know. I can understand them looking for impaired drivers.
100%. Pull me over. Hey, have you been using today, Mr. Perfello? You come up as a legal medical cannabis patient. Not, we're searching your car. It smells like weed. He never asked me if I had consumed.
Do you want to know something, though? We have something called Americans, ADA, Americans Disabled. I forget the fucking acronym, but
American Disabilities Act.
Yes, and the act bars them from basically, if you've got your little love puppy at the airport and you're saying that it's an emotional support dog, they don't have a right in America to ask you what your medical condition is that gives you the right to have a supporting animal, for instance. And I wonder if they're in a similar place where the cop gets a green flag or red flag that, hey, this could be a medical marijuana patient, you know, puffing Cheech and Chong style down the road. But once he approaches you, he doesn't have the right to ask you directly, what is your medical condition? Are you medicating right now? Can you get out of the top? You know, I wonder if there's like a really fucked up line that they're trained to try to follow.
Well, there's something that's now happened. Like I said, once was with my father, next time was with my girlfriend. Just, you know, it wasn't like I was smoking or anything at all. Good job, Todd. You know, I got a light one too.
You know, although in a weird way, I mean, even the fact that, you know, my Marinol bottle, for instance, I've been using Marinol for decades, obviously. But when I first got it, one of the things that surprised me is that it's not illegal to use THC and drive your car. It's totally legal to do that once you're used to it. It's like any other pharmaceutical. You have to get used to the drug, but then once you're used to the drug, obviously you can go about your life. And I think anybody listening or watching is going to feel that, you know, cannabis does not impair their ability to act like a normal person throughout the day.
Well, actually, what impairs my ability is the pain that I go through when I'm doing something that distracts me. So cannabis actually alleviates that pain, so I can be clear-minded, and that's on paper with my doctors and stuff like that, because it takes
but cannabis per se doesn't distract you. If anything, the more you smoke, the less high you get. It's kind of ironic.
And the only thing I would add to the impairment argument, as well as welcoming Chimera to the room, is that impairment is impairment. We don't have to have special impairment rules for cannabis. A cop can understand and see if someone's impaired. And I just think that having special rules for cannabis is completely absurd. And it was actually Kirk Toussaint who made this argument, saying that, listen, if you're worried about people being impaired while they're under the influence of anything, stop worrying about what it is they're under the influence of and merely realize impairment is impairment. If someone's completely wasted and can't get out of their car, they're impaired, regardless of what they're on.
And let me say, I specifically believe that cannabis can cause impairment. Anybody that's ever had their friend eat too many brownies or some, you know, it's so easy to fuck up on hash bonbons, you know, or an edible. So truth be told, there was a fucking guy that rear-ended a goddamn CHP officer who was in the middle of pulling somebody else over, and he was high on edibles. I mean, it looks really bad for the rest of our community.
Right.
Yeah, impairment totally varies also with like the individual, right? If it's your first time smoking a joint, you smoke a big fatty, you're going to get way higher than any one of us that consumes cannabis daily. So, but they are changing the rules in Canada about that. Set a new system whereby they can actually charge you, and they can actually start looking at.
I love the pen that they got going on there, Sam.
They can start looking at saliva levels and stuff like that too. I also just wanted to drop one little thing about that the police were able to pull Johnny over because of Health Canada. That's completely untrue. The Health Canada records are completely isolated from the police computer system, which in Canada is called CPIC. It's the RCMP.
So let's say one thing, right? Like it might have been, I don't think they can access the Health Canada, but once someone like myself has disclosed to an officer that I am MAR and they have that on file, I think they put that onto their police files, because I mean, this has happened at events. They know what I do.
You're talking about something other than Health Canada. You had an interaction with the police at some point in time that allowed them to put into CPIC, which is again the Canadian Police Computer System, so you now have a file on your file in CPIC that says you're a cannabis user, and that's why they were able to pull you over. It really, but
that
you gotta
clean sense.
Distinction that between that and just being an MMAR holder, because you can be an MMAR holder and there's no information on CPIC about you, and they don't cross-link, they don't. There's no association between those two computer systems. So until you become known to the police as a cannabis user, there is no information on you as a medical user in the Canadian system, at least. So it's a small distinction, but it is important to make that distinction.
Don't worry, Johnny, because these guys are coming to get you. You see the police patch I have in my hand?
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah, I just took a picture of it.
That rocker that is on there looks identical to an HA, like font and everything.
I absolutely agree with you. And not only is there, I can show you, there's also,
I took a picture of it.
Saskatchewan, Ontario.
You got them all.
Quebec.
Manitoba?
No, just these four I have.
Oh, shit.
No, just the key provinces in Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, is it just me, or does Indra look way younger?
Yeah, he looks like Mark Scaldone.
Looks like Mark Scaldone.
How's it going, guys?
We're having a party.
That's awesome.
Tough and tough.
Look at these guys.
Well,
They're on the drugs.
2 days, and everybody's fucking trying the mysterious green and golden turfs, and guess what? They all love them.
I have.
Nice.
Amazing.
Nice. Hey, I'll have some. I'll have a rip right now in that honor. I got a little terps here myself that I'll dip into.
Yeah, go get some terps now.
Little
Okay,
concentrated X.
Continuing the conversation, that's the problem they're trying to find here in the United States, which is impaired driving. And so they're trying to create, as we know, a breathalyzer currently, which is they're going through tests on. It's not officially legal or in that resolve yet. But because the only thing that I guess human nature can equate to, driving with and alcohol seems to be the only thing that people are looking at or toward in this resolve, thinking that if you're impaired on cannabis, it's the same impairment as an alcohol. And as we know that if you have no tolerance or low tolerance, you can be impaired on cannabis quite easily through smoking, edibles, topicals, ingestions. It's very easy to go there. So we as a community also have to confront this issue, because these laws are going to be forced on us, as well as this new technology is going to be forced on us as they try to come up with a way to find these impaired drivers. Because as we know, there's no easy way through a breathalyzer. Currently, it's blood in your system, or the amount of level in your blood system is currently the only recognizable way.
Not accurate.
No,
Right,
no, beyond not accurate.
The most accurate test is what you do is you open up a box of donuts and you see who gets them first, the donut or the stoned hippie driver.
I mean, honestly, it's not too far off from that, because in my reality, they're going way too deep down this rabbit hole. Impairment is very simple to tell. You don't have to measure nanograms of cannabinoids in a bloodstream or alcohol, or you just have to look at the person. Are they impaired? Were they driving poorly? Were they weaving in and out of their lanes? Were they driving too slow? These are these are how you decide if someone's impaired, not with a little machine.
Remember, alcohol impairment test was not created until 1986. Before then, as Bill Hicks said, they'd be like, "Oh, buddy, you look a little drunk. Oh, you should sleep it off and drive home." But until then, even in Louisiana, I mean, I grew up in a state where you could go to a drive-through daiquiri place, and they can hand you the daiquiri with a lid on top, and they can hand you a straw. But if they put the straw inside the container, then it is an open container. So these are the types of hemming and hawing and half noodling that they're going to be doing along the way till they come up with whatever process they have. So we have to stay educated in looking at what these technologies are and what they plan to try to do. But we have to, as educated cannabis people, confront our own society regarding this, our own people, and realize there is impairment. We can't just with one swath say everybody who smokes pot can drive. Although we've seen studies that highly titrated and people who are regular users have no issues. In fact, we've seen studies that show they drive 1 mile per hour slower than the actual speed limit. I mean, that's actual science out there. So we're going to see more studies, and I know that a lot of these states are going to be reactionary and put a lot of money toward this type of creating of this type of recriminalization at a point, so that they can criminalize those that are impaired drivers.
Well, we've got to protect the children, Etienne. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has mentioned it numerous times. We need to protect the children. Those same children that are overdosing on fentanyl? Yes, those ones. Okay, well, I mean, obviously, if there's kids overdosing on fentanyl, we can't be promoting cannabis use. Is that not how Spicer put it? Is that not what he...
Can I lay this out, though? We already, I mean, now that we're in a situation that we have some legality to what we're doing, we just need to fight for for equal rights. I mean, we already have impaired driving laws against people that are abusing pharmaceuticals, but we're not going to make pharmaceuticals illegal. And this has to fall along the same lines. So I don't think it will get to a point of how much of it necessarily is in your system. per se, because that doesn't work with cannabis. It's going to be like Mark's saying, are you all over the road? You know, we just unfortunately woke up to a news story of a drunk driver driving into a crowd in New Orleans. I mean, and it's ironic to me because we don't even need terrorists in this country. We have a bunch of drunk fuckers that'll do it for us.
And let me tell you, the news is nothing compared to having a mom and a sister who work at 911 in the city that you live in. If you want to know what's going down in your city, the news doesn't cover a fraction of what's going down in your current city. And those 911 operators, they know what's going down. They are the most accurate form of statistics for the shit that's going down in the city in regards to, you know, police and ambulance and fire department getting called. They're the ones that take the calls.
They're
It's
sending
shocking.
out the first responders, of course. How shitty a job would that be?
Dude,
that would be tough. You take that home.
listen, people have no understanding of how stressful it is to just take a call. And one call, it could be a little boy talking about, oh, I'm playing with my wiener. Click, hang up. The next call, he's murdering me! Like crazy fucking shit like that, one after another. Accidents, crazy, harsh. Just, it's stressful. And I grew up, my mom, that was her job for most of my life. And now it's been my sister's job for 25 years or so.
Well, thank the world for them, because they're the people we reach out to when we need them the most. So.
Yeah, they're unsung heroes to people, and they're not thanked enough for the difficult job that they go through every single day, man. First responders and their assistants. I mean,
yeah. They get PTSD, man, fucking from answering a phone.
Fact.
Right. And you know, and we were talking about how shitty it is to get pulled over, but in '99 I was pulled over on the 91, and I didn't stop right away because I didn't notice them, whatever, and found myself in the back of a cop car. And when the cop found my book, he came and sat down, and it was like this really weird quiet moment in the police car. And I found myself looking at him in the rearview mirror and seeing that he was like tearing up. And I was like, are you okay? And he was like, you didn't tell me you were Todd McCormick. And I was like, yes, I did. I gave you my ID. And he goes, yeah, I just didn't realize who you were. He goes, look, my dad just died of pancreatic cancer. And the last conversation I had with him was about you. And I don't know how to deal with this moment right now. And I was like, whoa. And we both sat there for a moment. Like, I started crying. I mean, I felt so bad for the guy. And he ended up being as nice as he could be. And it really reminded me, it drove it home how, you know, cancer doesn't care what job you have, doesn't give a shit about who you work for. And once it infects your family, it melts the hearts of everybody, you know. So, you know, please don't forget, I mean, that we're all human. It's really not an us against them thing. It's just what I feel.
And an officer's just doing their job. I have nothing against an officer. It's how an officer treats me or doesn't treat me.
Well, you know,
like you said, you've had officers treat you with respect if you treat them with respect. But if you treat them with disrespect, they're going to heap it on you tenfold.
Yeah, and you know, with me being a political activist, I will say this. I used to do nothing to incite the officer I was dealing with, because I don't want to sound rude to the officers I was dealing with, but I felt like I was dealing with pawns on a chess set. And they weren't really my problem, and they were really not in control. And they you know, so I just tried to be, and I've never got my ass kicked. I've never been maced. I've never had a cop be a dick to me, and I've been arrested quite a few times.
No, but the cops told me that they felt you were just a pawn too.
Sure, I bet you they did in a weird way. I mean, but you know what was weird? I mean, even when Prop 64 passed, I had 3 of the prison guards in the prison I spent most of the time in contact me on Facebook and say, man, glad it legalized. I'm retired now and I'm a smoker too, and just always admired what you were about. And it blew my mind. I mean, that they were the ones listening. It just, you never know who you're changing.
Imagine how they saw you, Todd, in a prison full of fucking many maniacs. You obviously stood out as someone like, this motherfucker's different.
Well, no, I know I'm not a criminal. I think I heard it all the time. Like, you know, look, I'm not over here bragging about how I would rob a bank or something like that. I don't even really speed. I'm one of those 1 mile an hour below the speed limit guys, because I'm, you know, but the reality is that, you know, these are just people too. And, you know, we could do more with our activism through like trying to educate one another and being polite than we can with, you know, turning them into our enemy. And, you know, and the harder part for me was I was never going to cooperate. So I had to be fucking nice, because I wasn't going to be telling them what they wanted to hear. I had to have them being nice to me because I knew I want to speak to a lawyer was not going to go over well. And that's what I recommend to everybody listening. If you get arrested now, especially in a legal state, just shut your mouth, get a lawyer, and take it all the way to trial. Because if we were to do that, we would break this system. This system could not prosecute all the marijuana cases that goes through it unless the people capitulated to settling for some type of guilty plea. So break the system. That's really my recommendation. Be polite and don't stop. Don't give up.
Beyond anything, and what you can do is exactly what you did. You plant seeds. One of the things we learned early on in activism is you can't change a person's mind, but you can be respectful and plant seeds of ideas like your book had before you even met that cop, Todd. You know what I'm saying? That seed had already been planted, but you may be that fresh manure that needs to actually plant a new seed with that officer so that they can see that we're not all dumb, stupid, and reprehensible, because even though they're told that, and it's an us versus them mentality, as you stated, they are still human and they are responsive to, you know, human nature if you're respectful to them. If you're not respectful, then as it's stated, they will throw heaps of pain upon you.
Yeah,
but the people that really need to be reached are the people who are not yet converted. The converted, hey, we're just wasting our time and energy. I mean, we can celebrate with them and it's a lot of fun, but we need to reach the people who are not converted yet.
That's one of the reasons for Hash Church, Sam, because the conversations that erupt here over the last couple of years, there's little gems, and those gems, I've always said it, like the people watching, you're the choir, we are preaching to the choir, but you guys have access to all those people in your life that are not the choir. And this information that we share here weekly, this information we want to arm you with to take out into those family members and friends and workmates and whatever that don't in any way, shape, or form support this and still don't see through the perspective that
the doors are really opening with Proposition 64 passing in California. That means you can teach any neighbor in your area how to grow. You can give him some seeds, give him a clone, and teach him how to grow.
Okay, so there's one of the good things from Prop 64. I have a question to all of those who were so against it, and this is an honest question. What have you been doing to offer or create something better as an alternative for the future of California? So you went out of your way, you created dissent, you posted things on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and I'm just curious as to what, if anything, any of you have done to make things better in California for the people that, you know, OMA not passing would have hurt.
But can I just put this in, you know, and I don't want to sound completely condescending, but a lot of the people that were speaking out against Proposition 64 and legalization directly were people that were promoting medical marijuana related products on Instagram and other places and trying to make some money, and have been in the industry way less than 10 or 15 years. And it was disheartening to me because so many of those dissenters were putting profits over principles. They didn't give a fuck about people sitting in prisons because they were getting away with it. They were getting money and they don't give a shit. And I saw mostly hypocrites coming out against 64.
And I get that. I get that. And that's the majority, right? But I'm saying the small percentage of people that are good people, that are part of this community, that meant well, that now realize, I'm just wondering, what are they doing? Because I don't see them posting about the project that they're working on that's going to be better than OMA or an alternative or something that, you know, would be better than what they were trying to offer. I just heard people slamming it. And I'm just, you know, I tell people all the time that start new businesses, whether it's a water extraction company or a seed business or whatever, they ask me what my number one point of like a tip would be. And I'm like, well, I guess I would say try to promote what you love instead of what you hate. If that makes any sense. Spend your time on what you want to be, not complaining about what is happening.
And then get up today and do it, and then get up today and do it again. That's what all of us have been doing. It's an everyday thing. It's not a recreational thing. It's not something that we do on the side. We all have everybody here has staked their freedom along the way to have the freedom that we all have currently. And that's because we still have to do so. Here in California, And of course, here in the United States, we saw, what did we see this week? We saw that the Spicer, who is the Secretary of Lies, apparently, basically got up and said that there looks to be increased enforcement on recreational cannabis. The administration is basically acknowledging medical cannabis, which is, again, a huge step in a direction. I'm not saying it's the direction, but it's a step in a direction where medical has been, as we have seen over time, okay, we're fine with medical. However,
there's a key point here.
The solution is stop smoking recreational. It's adult use now, folks.
Or how about this? Recreational and medical have been tied since the beginning. Medical would have never happened had it not been from the learning that the recreational people were doing and pushing forward. That's Wendy Turner came on here and I asked her, what do you think about all the sort of hippie, freak, dreadlock, nut bar, just all of us crazy cannabis folk, because you're really coming at it from a different angle. And she said, I love all of you. I love that you guys secured and kept these cultivars safe over the years of prohibition for my son to come along and be able to access them. And those are connected intimately, recreational. And I agree with you, Sam.
You know what? The 20 years before I met Dennis in 1994, Dennis Perone. He was running the Big Top in the 70s in San Francisco, and it was legendary for the amount of grass he was selling, basically out in the open to people. And it wasn't about medical. It was about them being radical and breaking the rules and doing what they felt was right. And, medical wouldn't come along for decades for them. It wouldn't be until the AIDS crisis. It wouldn't be until they absolutely had to look at the fact of the matter of what was happening in their own community, and they saw that cannabis was good. But before all that happened, it was about rebellion. It was about standing up for their rights.
Well, this is again what we have to do here, and that's what I was getting back to, is that because they wish to go after recreational states. I mean, it just came out, Colorado made $1.6 billion last year in sales in cannabis. They're not walking away from that. They've decided that they're going to fight the government. The state of California, the same thing. The state of Washington, the same thing. The state of Oregon. So it's going to be very interesting to see if it was a misspeak by the Secretary of Lies, or if it was actually something that they're going to ramp up and go after recreational. If so, how is Sessions going to do it? But what it means is it's time to get active. I mean, people need to get active and start calling your representatives every single day. Just call once and make them aware of that you're not happy with what's happening in your state. You're not happy with the federal government trying to take away the sales tax in Colorado. That's improving the school system, okay? But you're going to see...
Truthfully, we got to argue for equal rights. I mean, we're not the same as alcohol, but it would be nice if we were treated the same way. People who were consuming wine and had wine parties and wine tasting events and wine gatherings at their huge friggin' vineyards, if we could get treated like that, we would all love it.
And show up,
just like the wine industry.
Right. And show up at these town halls. Every representative has a town hall. And don't forget, November 6th, there's elections for... multiple representatives and over 400 people in the House of Representatives, as well as the 13 to 14 different governors. So, get active, get involved, plug in. But if you're in a state where it is recreational legal, you have a support system within your state. They just need to hear from you and get active and get involved. Live your voice. Go down there, show up, bring a friend, bring a sign. Be active. You can really affect a great deal of change currently. As you can see, all these people showing up at these town halls across the United States are really getting traction, and it's really making these representatives aware that they can talk all they want, but they still have to deal with the people. And your voice represents anywhere from 100 to 1,000. So use it, and it will change a lot. I'm not sure what going on in Canada, but I know what happens here will ripple into your country. But I see that things are happening currently there with Mark Emery's shops are getting busted simultaneously, and other places of, I guess, adult use are being busted currently.
Yeah, there's no legal mechanism. All dispensaries and vapor lounges are civil disobedience. which is, you know, it's a tough one, really, guys, because the civil disobedience that started in Vancouver turned into massive profit making. And so you had people that originally, like Hillary Black, who started the BC Compassion Club, who had the utmost highest integrity that you could possibly believe. It was just almost impossible. There was no trying to create negative profit margins. All profit margins were given back to the people, to the point of Hillary living in near poverty conditions for, you know, the first 10 years of the club. And she just, there's, let's just say there's been less and less of that, and more of, you know, it's just easy to buy herb and hash and sell it in a dispensary model, protected under that Compassion Club model. So for me, the dispensary civil disobedience is extremely important, but it has been diluted the same way when people talk about licensed production facilities. Generally, most activists, most people in the cannabis community here, particularly in the dispensary community, most of them will despise and dislike and hate licensed production facilities, whereas not all, mainly because they think of them as giant, huge corporate douchebags that are here to steal the entire business, the industry from people.
But can I interject something?
Well,
the LPs kind of are, if they're trying to step on the rights of you,
but
or
here's
Johnny
the thing,
B,
Todd.
or someone else.
But
right?
here's the thing. They aren't all trying to step on our rights. There are some that are just like me and Johnny B, that are just like Sam, who's not a bad person, but saw that he needed to do things differently than most people in California. He recognized the pharmaceutical model. He recognized the work that he wanted to do. Everyone loves Skunkman Sam. Well, how about respecting how he went about doing this through a legal mechanism? When everyone else just thought it was impossible and chose prohibition-based profit margins, he figured it out. And that's what
he was never an LP. But I get you. And not to sound weird,
but he was a pharmaceutical company with DEA export licenses. He's exactly what
before you confuse the point.
My whole point. I haven't even finished my point yet.
Well, if the LP,
finished my point yet.
Then let me say this, because I think you misunderstood.
Sure.
If the LPs are working against people like, let's say, Mark and Jody,
and that's what I'm trying to say. They aren't all. That's what I'm trying to say. They aren't all. There's like a few who are, and because of it, all of them are getting lumped in, kind of like shitty dispensaries that sell BHO butane soup, and having all the good ones have to sort of float in that cesspool. Like, no, we have high integrity. That's all I'm trying to say. Yes, there are big LPs that are brutal, that are working against the community, that are trying to get the police to bust dispensaries. But what I'm saying is not all of them. Some of them are
good. There's some of them that are suck, though.
Well, absolutely, but do we throw them all in under the bus then? I sure hope not, because then dispensaries are going to.
Well, we got to fight for equal rights, because you know that this is the next step. Is that truthfully, it shouldn't be a handful of people growing for the majority. It should be a majority of the majority being able to do what they want. You know, so
100%.
F that model, in my opinion, because I don't think they could do that in California, because there's so many people that organically grow in their backyard and supply their neighbors that would be a system that would be hard to really uproot.
Yeah, well, that's why our system's federal and not provincial.
Right, and for the record, Sam was never an LP, didn't provide anything to anybody.
I never said he was.
Right,
yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
not comparable.
Well, it is in the sense that a lot of LPs are doing the same thing. They've created research and development. They're doing studies for PTSD and for other diseases through universities that they're paying for. They just happen to have a license to also grow and distribute cannabis.
I was under the impression that legal producers were the ones distributing to the medical program in Canada.
They absolutely do their own mail order, and they have their own in-house packaging and shipping and the whole nine yards.
But a Bedro can, Sam has never been.
No, you've made that point like 6 times over.
No, you know why though? Because I think a lot of people that gave him shit in the 90s when I lived there simply didn't understand, or had a privy to understand, the privacy of what he was trying to do, and people were confused about it and made it out to be something that it wasn't, and he caught a lot of shit for it, and I watched it, and obviously his best friend's my best friend, Rob Clark, and
exactly.
it always hurt me, and people that misunderstood what he was doing I think comparing him to something like a LP is really not.
But it's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening with LPs, Todd. The same way people are jumping on good LPs that are not pieces of shit in any way, shape, or form is exactly what you said about Sam. And I agree. He got bad energy for no good reason, because he was doing incredible work that most of us could only dream about doing.
Literally. And I felt that, like, a lot of the seed companies that thought he was competition didn't even have a fucking concept of what it was really doing.
I mean, here's a great comment by PK Brewer. Do we outlaw breweries because Bud and Molson suck? No, we make sure that the model allows to be inclusive and more people are allowed to be a part of it. That's what we fight for. We don't fight to close access that's already been given permission.
But in an example, anyone in California can go start a winery.
Yeah. But
But how long did it take for the craft market of beer to take off compared to the big ones, such as the Miller, the Anheuser-Busch, etc.? Those head-to-stake markets, and those realities have to be watched. However, they are going to allow craft, at least here in California, to start off before mega start off, so people can get at least their foot in the door before the big people come in.
And crafts aren't going anywhere. Craft beer is not going anywhere. It's a secured niche. And if anything, it'll grow as people figure out how to make bigger batches without, affecting the integrity of the batch. Go ahead, Sam.
And when it comes to cannabis, I would disagree with most people. I truly believe that you can grow the very, very highest quality on a massive scale, by the acre or by the 100 acres.
And the difference between you and everyone that says it can't be done, Sam, is that you have done it and they have not.
Well, that, and also the main thing that it requires really is dedication. Never compromise your values for money or profit. What you have, quality has to come first, second, and third.
Yep. No, agreed. It's true. Successful craft beer companies are often owned by larger brand. That's true as well.
Right. But they didn't start that way. A lot of them started as just, people, and then got sold out.
But the recipes continue, though. You can still get the same craft beer taste that you had before. So that's what people are looking for. The same thing you look for in your food. You want consistent, good, healthy access, and that's what people are starting to get. And then this is the reality of the change that is this whole dynamic shift. As I go back to sociology a bit, it's a whole shift going from the small craft cannabis that wasn't tested, that you have no idea how your friend actually grew it, to now having access to clean, tested, accessible cannabis across the board. Although still not testing at those rates in Canada still, though.
I was talking to Alec from SC Labs yesterday. I've actually invited him in today. It's one of the main reasons I invited Chimera in as well, to help along with that conversation, because we definitely wanted to have and get into the deeper testing conversation again, the quality of what's being grown, and just, the problem that happened up here in Canada with the microbutanol and some other, I guess down in California, it was happening as well. Just be really nice, particularly, you got to think from a craft perspective, from that quality perspective, that would involve smaller batches, like instead of one batch per 5 pounds or whatever, maybe like 3 batches per pound or something, that you offer your end user. Not only is it this quality, but there's this, security in knowing that the product you've purchased does not have these things in it. Because I'll tell you, the worst thing ever is, and it could be propaganda, but watching some of the people who got this sprayed herb talking about how sick they were and how bad it was, it just, I was like, oh my God, like, here we go again. Like, how do you give herb a bad name? It's like, well, spray toxic chemicals on it and sell it as a medicine. That would be one great way to give herb a bad name, or at least in the perspective of people who, bunch everything into one category when they're upset with something, rather than sort of look a little closer and see what's going on. It seems to be a huge problem in the community, not just the cannabis community, but our human community.
I feel like I'm channeling my inner D420. Bong rip.
I could take a bong rip. I'm still waiting for Tony to come in, and Natasha was supposed to come in today, and I've hit up Alec and Chimera. So I think we'll just keep on keeping on with our convo, and eventually it's going to break into some pretty substantial stuff. Natasha was going to bring a guest today. She was actually going to bring Stormy on, the girl who Darren D420K was telling the story about last week, his cousin. She was going to come on and talk about her, what she's been going through for her life with her, not a disease, I guess it's called a syndrome. And so I guess we'll have to wait for next week. Oh, nice. You got.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Introduce everyone, man. Come on.
Mark Scaldone, PhD and neighborhood genius. Danny from Kosovo. Korova, excuse me. John Mark Herring from Asahi Glass. Asahi Glass. And myself. And
well, welcome, guys.
We're sitting here dabbing and watching the show.
I thought you guys were sitting there making some new chemical compound that y'all were just absolutely going to get high off of and say, oh, check it out. We combined minds and created this new BAM.
We did last night.
And what's it called?
We're just not telling you.
That's okay. That's what Hash Church is all about, not telling people.
Can't you create the fuzzy bunny? You know, we created a fuzzy bunny with a fluffy tail. Come on, the brother.
Yeah, we're just having a good time. What can I say? I mean, we've been here for a few days.
Truth be told, we didn't make any new molecules, but we visited some
old ones.
Yeah, some friends of ours.
Yeah. That's always nice. Did you guys go for a bike ride?
In the snow?
It's snowing fucking here. Jeez.
It's a metaphor.
I was about to say, don't you guys have metaphors, doctors? Come on, Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm talking about molecules. I'm talking about bicycle rides. Do I have to
well, in that case, we had a 4-seater bike that we rode out and around the valley.
That's what I'm talking about. Drone style, they flew around the valley. It started out as a bike, but
what you're supposed to say, Marcus, is hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Wow, and somebody's ears must have been burning because there she be.
You forgot
Welcome, Dr. Natasha.
You forgot to say no more. Hi, Sasha.
Hello. I was listening, so.
That's Natasha, and that's not Kosovo. That's.
Hey, I have got from another life leftover scar tissue from a hair lip. Okay.
Oh, that's cool. My best friend growing up had the worst hair lip, and I swear most people other than his mom and myself, they just could not understand him. He had many operations and the whole tubes and the hole in the cleft, and it was bad, but he was my best buddy. Shout out to Todd if you're out there listening. You were a good shit. No, his name was Todd. It wasn't like a joke.
Too late.
I'm going to shout out Todd, who's not Todd McCormick, my old friend growing up. Maybe he's a puffer. Maybe he's hardcore. Who knows? Maybe he's not. So how are things, Dr. Natasha?
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I've joined you guys. I've been doing a few different things. We're trying to set up some research projects with some researchers at UBC to write like a case study on something similar to like Colton Turner's case report, but it's not about him. It's about another pediatric patient who'd been using cannabis to help with his Crohn's and colitis. And again, he was using a similar oral extract to what Colton was using, like a 1-to-1 THC to CBD oral pill. And what's interesting about his case is we actually have some serum markers and some stool markers. So there's this inflammatory marker that you can measure in your poop. It's called, I'm forgetting what it is right now. But anyway, it'll come to me. And so we can measure this marker, and what it does is it shows it's correlated with inflammation. So as this marker goes down, we can show that there's less inflammation. So that's quite powerful with these reports, because normally there's not any either serum markers or this measures that we can say this is actually changing versus just the patient's reports on how they feel. So anyway, we're putting together this case report, and then we're also trying to get some funding together to put together data from one of the medical cannabis groups. One of the places where patients in Canada can come and get signed up with the Health Canada program. And so they see a lot of patients. There's medical doctors there. We have access to over 40,000 patient files that they've been collecting, showing patients symptoms improving with medical cannabis use. So we're trying to put together a team with UBC researchers and these medical doctors to start going into this data and writing about various things. So the parts that I'm interested mostly are the patients with gut disorders, also with pain, and one of the medical doctors we're working with, she's a pain specialist, and she's really interested in harm reduction and how using medical cannabis can reduce polypharmacy, so other drugs. So she deals with a lot of really difficult to treat pain conditions. And so these patients are on a variety of different pharmaceutical compounds, which, as you know, can have a lot of side effects, which they then have to be on other drugs to manage those side effects. And it just ends up being like these patients are almost just in a like comatose, just sitting there and have no quality of life. So what's really interesting about cannabis is, as you all know, it can help patients get their lives back. And so this clinic has some really good data documenting these cases. And so now we're trying to put together this data, get it analyzed. So we went on Friday to just go even check out the data, like, is it in a usable form? And it looks good. So yeah, there's been some interesting movement on that. And the other thing that I've been doing is some just consulting questions that I've been getting, which, you know, as soon as I get really excited when someone contacts me about like cannabis topicals or edibles or something like that, and I get all, you know, okay, they're going to have really complicated questions, but then the questions usually come back to standardization issues. And so I even wanted to talk to you guys about that, like even just to talk to the community, like how are people making sure they're having a standardized product? Because to build up the legitimacy of your organization, you want to make sure that your patients or your clients know what they're getting. So you want to have good measures of THC, CBD. And so what people are doing is getting their final product analyzed, but they're having issues with batch to batch variability. And so like they wanted some of my ideas about how they could get better consistency with their product. And I had a simple solution. I don't know if this is actually what has been happening, but I'm like, are you measuring your extract before you're putting it into your final skincare formula, your edible formula, and then adjusting the oils to get an appropriate dose? And then they paused and thought, oh, no, I think we're just analyzing our final formula, but not realizing like there's batch to batch variability depending on what your extract is. So it's a seemingly simple solution, but for some people that might be like messing up your standardization. And then another issue is often just like, it's boring. It's just good note taking. And like, how are you measuring your raw bases? Like, are you using a measuring spoon, or are you using like a weight? Like, are you measuring with weight versus just like, you know, a measuring cup? Because if you're using like bases like shea butter and something like cocoa butter, if you take a half a cup of each of those and then you take their weight, they weigh like 20 grams different. So you might think you're using a similar amount of a similar product, but then when you try to do a different recipe and you substitute something with something else, it can completely change your formula. So even just helping people use a scale to weigh their raw ingredients, like especially for homemakers and such. And then another issue that was coming up was cleanliness. And from my lab days, we had issues working with, we're working with bacteria, and sterilization is a very important thing. And so we can talk about like sterilization versus something like disinfecting, where you're disinfecting, you're just reducing the bacteria growth, or like the burden, whereas sterilization, there no longer is any bacteria. And so these are very different processes. But when you're using something like a bleach solution,
what's the cannabinoid feedstock that you're putting? Are you putting in distillate or is this somehow purified extract in any way?
It was, I think they said it was a BHO derived extract. So,
okay, so it's the BHO extract, and they're doing a cannabinoid analysis of the extract.
yeah, and they wanted, well, they weren't doing that. I don't think that was the crucial step they were missing. They were just putting it into their product and then taking a final cannabinoid measurement of the final product. So I think they were either having distribution problems.
But if they're putting it into the product, they need to know what the cannabinoid concentration of the extract is. And if it's purified, that's great, because then if you closer you are to distillate, the closer you are to purified cannabinoid, and then you're just weighing out essentially CBD or weighing out THC. But if it's only like if it's a BHO that's say like between 70 to 80% pure, that means there's 20% other stuff in there. So I'm just trying to get an idea if they're trying to target a active ingredient load in the final formulation. You need to know what your cannabinoid concentration is on the extract itself. So are they not determining that number?
That's what I anticipated the problem was. So they were gonna, it was basically what the situation was someone had taken over a company and they were having all these issues, and he hadn't quite gotten into, he just knew that they were having issues with this formulation, so they wanted to bring in an expert, help them. And so I was walking with him through the process, and that's basically the point I got to. So now he was going to check, but that was the most obvious issue.
Yeah, so it's probably the best thing to do is to make sure that they have reproducible results on a batch of extract. So if they run it like 2 or 3 times, that they're going to get around the same amount. And then once you know, I take it if this is BHO, it's not been decarboxylated, correct?
That's a good point. I hadn't asked that question.
Because if in your formulation you want activated cannabinoid, you would want decarboxylated material. So now you're going to put a thermal history on that extract, and you're going to start doing chemistry. So, I mean, this is, I think, part of the reason why you're seeing a little bit of drift in the active ingredient that they're measuring in the final product, because you're doing chemistry along the way.
And then, of course, as you're adding your extract to, for instance, if you're making a skincare formula or something, if you're heating or sterilizing those products, of course, you're shifting again. You might be making more active compounds.
I'll just use edibles as a convenient example, since we have Danny, the lead operations guy from Corova, California's largest edibles company, in the room. What they do is they make a butter, and then they do the analysis of the butter. And then the butter analysis tells the recipe how much of the activated butter needs to go into a cookie or a brownie to give the targeted cannabinoid level. And then they do the testing of the brownie itself to make sure that the amount of activated butter that was put into the brownie provides the right amount of cannabinoids, because that's the amount that gets reported on the label itself, that the customer is going to say, okay, this has this many milligrams of THC. And in this case, because it's an edible, it's completely been deactivated, or I'm sorry, activated by decarboxylation. So that's the question for you, Natasha, is are the cannabinoids in your formulations activated, or the acids do have activity, so it's not necessarily that they wouldn't be active, but they might certainly have a different pharmacokinetic profile than the decarboxylated cannabinoids.
And what do you think so going back to the edible and the brownie example, like if you're now baking that food product, how do you think that's going to shift the cannabinoid profile? Like, is the heat, I guess it depends on the recipe, but
as we know, I mean, THC is a pretty robust molecule, and it can be short path distilled at high temperature. Once you have THC,
no, wait a minute. Go into the brownie thing for a second. Heat and time is decarboxylation. That's all it is. There's a little graph, Natasha, you can see, starts off at around $1.60 or so, and then it goes over time. So even at 160 degrees over a matter of time, you'll see molecules like THC turn from an acid into, delta 9. And but the higher the temperature, the faster the decarb. That's all
I guess the point is, Todd, is that
if you put it in an oven, the point is it will decarb.
if you're making something like distillate where you know exactly to a very high degree of precision how much active ingredient, you could then just take that and then dose that into a brownie, as opposed to, you know, try to play the guessing game of, well, we started with this much, you know, herb, or we made this much butter. The real important thing is to establish what the cannabinoid level is before you formulate that into a product, whether it's with dairy butter or shea butter. It makes no difference, because you're taking something that's concentrated and now formulating it into a less concentrated form. So in order to be able to target the active ingredient load in your formulated product, you have to know the active ingredient of your concentrate, or else it's a guessing game, which is what you're saying.
Yeah, and so that's basically what I figured was they're going to be their main issue of concern. So yeah, you're confirming that that would be the step that they need to test and then retest. Yeah, sorry, going back to the baking thing though, so there's no degradation of a THC product with, like, at what point does THC start to break down with heating? Is that really, really long? Anybody? What's that time frame? Like, if you were making...
It's like, you know, when you think about a joint, like I'm rolling a joint, but when you light a joint, the tip of the joint is around 1,000 degrees. I read a cigarette tip's like 1,200 degrees. So wouldn't that mean that the rest of the cannabis in this joint just got vaporized pretty much? And as I smoke it, I'm decarboxylating it as I smoke it, because the heat of the smoke is actually changing the joint chemically. That's how I'm getting high. So if you put this in the oven and you bake it at 350 degrees, you're gonna decarb whatever cannabinoids are in it.
Okay, wait a second. We have Danny here from Kurova, and so again, Danny's procedure is to test the butter. So they test the butter for cannabinoid content, right?
Right. Well, we test our starting material, then we test the butter, then we test the final product. So before it hits the shelves. So by the time the consumer gets an edible, it's already been tested throughout the process 4 times for cannabinoids, microbiological contaminants, pesticides, all of that.
But it's specific to THC. So if there was conversion in the baking process to CBN or other cannabinoids, Delta 8, would you necessarily see that?
I would see it.
Okay. Yeah. So
I do HPLC.
Yeah, they're doing HPLC results at standardized labs here in Cali. So I would take it that, again, if there was substantial change in the cannabinoid profile between the butter and the product, that you'd see that.
Yeah, I'd notice.
You'd notice it, and you don't see that, right?
No.
Okay, so baking brownies is cool.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, I guess the question again is just better testing, more testing at stages. So you say you test at basically 4 different stages along that process.
Correct.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And so what do you test for, like, what do you show your consumers? You show them obviously like THC, CBD, do you show them other cannabinoids, like a terpene range, or what?
No.
Or do you just keep that internal?
No, we actually don't even test for terpenes. I've never really seen a need to, but I could, just out of curiosity.
With
Can
the
I ask
and
you, how quickly do you see the THCA turn?
In our butter making process, our butter making process goes for 5 hours. So everything's decarved right there. 5 hours at probably about, I don't know, just shy of 200 degrees or so.
Yeah.
And then how does one guarantee equal saturation throughout the entire edible itself? That's a trick.
Magic wand. I pretty much just mix the shit out of it. Magic wand.
They hire me to consult.
Yeah.
So the technical term is mixing the shit out of, makes it get equal. Because one of the things I had worked with and had in edibles when we had them tested is we would find a saturation on one side of the edible and not necessarily on the other side. It happens during either the baking process or somewhere along the way.
Depends on what you make it with, though. If
Agreed.
you don't have
So
any
I mean,
material in it.
That's the challenge of edible makers. So that's
Remember at my house 20 years ago, we were just melting resin glands in hemp seed oil, and I still think it's the best way to make edibles.
Yeah. I pretty much try to over mix it, and then everything is weighed. Every cookie is weighed, and then we do precision machine cutting with all of our bars. So everything fits into the tray right, and then everything gets cut evenly or weighed individually each time.
Consistency is the key, and it's one of the key successes to your product, and it's the reason why it's been good from the minute it hit the shelves. It's been consistent. And let that be a lesson to others. Consistency is key.
Do you just make brownies, or do you make chocolate too?
No, we will be getting into chocolate in the future, but right now we just do pretty much baked goods, and then we do popcorn also.
Well, please let me know when you make chocolate, and if you make dark chocolate specifically.
Ooh,
just for you, Todd.
Be happy to be in your testing program for that one.
Oh, awesome. We will hit you up on that, definitely, for sure. Yes.
How do you do consistency measures for the popcorn? Is that more difficult, or do you just create that?
It is a little more difficult. We just try to make sure it's all coated evenly. It's a white cheddar popcorn. We make sure it's coated evenly, and then we weigh every bag into the packaging and everything. And it goes through the same testing process that our cookies and everything do. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Wish I was able to come down there and try some out. Stuck up in Canada.
I've never
heard you as an edible company, where do you see things going with legalization? Do you ever see a situation where you could have a bag of chips or your magic popcorn in, every store that sells cigarettes or beer?
I don't know that it'll be quite like that.
Be nice though.
Yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, I think if it goes that far, the key is going to be child-resistant packaging and clear labeling, and because you're going to have a lot of issues if it's that free. But yeah, I mean, that'd be nice, but it'd be tough to adapt. That'd be a lot of regulations associated.
Dumb question. How child-resistant is a wine bottle?
As a kid, I couldn't get a wine bottle open.
Or a beer bottle, for that instance.
No, they had my mom had cheap wine. She had screw tops.
Yeah, it shouldn't be much different than beer I mean, I don't think you're going to have to go past that industry. Why don't we argue for equal rights of beer? Open our packages as easily as you can open a beer. That'll be our motto.
Because I'm afraid that they'll start sending us beers instead.
It is pretty crazy. They treat cannabis like it's plutonium.
Yeah, I think we got to get away from that, talking about it differently. We gotta demand equal rights, and I know a lot of us don't feel like our industries are comparable to the alcohol industry or the tobacco industry in light of the destruction both of those industries have done. But we should have the same rights that those parties have. I mean, we really...
Absolutely.
What I'm going to do is I will breed varieties of cannabis that taste just like different beers and stouts and ales, and also Merlots and Chablis and all the rest. I don't like the taste of alcohol at all, but I'll do it anyway just to normalize cannabis.
Well, the alcohol doesn't have any flavor. It's just whatever they put in it. The alcohol's out.
You think alcohol does not have a flavor in and of itself, you're mistaken.
Well, the only flavor I ever noticed in it was as my throat was getting ready to puke after my dad poured some gin down my throat.
Ugh.
I think we all have to proudly come out as a community, and we really do have to demand equal treatment, equal rights. I mean, it's just so unfair that we don't have gathering places legally where we can just smoke a joint like we drink a beer or try some wine. And these are the things that we have to argue for now. It's not just rights, it's equal rights.
I'll tell you one thing, as someone who has children, 3 of them, we recently finally got rid of this last little bit of alcohol that was left over in our house from a party many years ago. And I just never liked the idea of it. I just thought, why do we have this? It's not really good. I also have cannabis and hash in my house. It's put away, and I don't in any way worry that my kids are going to get into it or try to access it or want to have anything to do with it. Whereas With alcohol, there's just more of this like, well, it's actually dangerous. There's a danger, not just the fact that they could freeze their brains and do stupid shit, but it can actually hurt them, like physically put them in the hospital. I've seen it. You have to drink a lot, but it does happen with certain kids that just don't get it properly. They just drink and drink and drink, and the next thing you know, it's like, what do they call it? Alcohol poisoning, which is amazing because I'm pretty sure alcohol is a poison.
But you know what? You can drink water until you're poisoned by the water too. So
sure.
And
yeah, but not, you know, like if you're going to argue that water is on any way, shape, or form as sort of detrimental or a tear on the social fabric of like our culture, North America.
The social fabric. You said alcohol is a poison, and what I'm saying is anything can be a poison if you go over the limit. You go over the line. If you drink 3 or 4 gallons of water.
Okay. All right. Let's go with that then. Let's change. Let's take a left turn and let's focus on that.
But you know what though, let me throw this in. At what point does it become parenting and guidance? Because you know there's pharmaceutical pills they got to avoid. There's poisons under the counter they got to avoid. There really comes a point where it's, you know, good parenting that steps in, and you know, it doesn't matter if the tobacco was in front of me. For instance, my parents both smoked. I didn't go there.
Me neither.
You know?
Well,
so I think that, you know what, taking that alcohol away doesn't necessarily work. In some ways, putting the bottle right in front of them and saying worst decision you can make is a better way to deal with it than, you know,
in your opinion, someone who doesn't have children. That's all I'll say about that.
Listen, though, I grew up. I had parents, you know, Mark. You know, and
you did, and that's a different relationship. When you become a parent, you realize this full circle thing happens. It's nothing like being a child. Like nothing.
I get you that. I get you that. A friend of mine, when he had kids, said, "I don't know how to raise kids." No, he goes, "I always thought you were going to grow up."
No one does.
Horrible, right? And friends that grew up sheltering their kids grew up to raise some really horrible kids. So
I don't pretend to think that I even knew how to raise kids. It just kind of is thrust upon you, and then you really come to the realization of how much you really don't know how to do this. But it's fun.
But I think a lot of you, like, I've seen a lot of my peers putting it in the effort that I wished others had. You know, like, seemed like when I was a kid, a lot of marriages were more disposable, and there are people like you, like a lot of people don't know it. You've been in the same relationship for a long friggin' time, and you put a ton of effort into your children, and you do self, and you are putting all this time in that I wish parents did. You know, so I think that's the kind of parenting they need, though.
But going back to normalization, there are people such as, I know Kayvon in Denver, such as, okay, it took a few years, and took to 2012, they changed for legalization. And it took about 4 years before they started to push for adult use places so that they could actually go into places and actually just use cannabis as adult. It's not there yet. They actually had to take it to the city, and even after that, the city, I think, is unfairly blocking it. But you see things like the Looper bus, which is a bus where people in Denver can get on and you can go get high and ride around town on this bus. That's a change in the dynamic that it wasn't there before legalization. But now that that dynamic is shifted, now they can work more toward normalization. But we need to see other people take on what Kayvon has done in other cities and in other states that have legalization to fight for spaces so that people can gather without harassment and can talk. I mean, before, I mean, we would just one of the key things what was exponentially neat about dispensaries is it was a gathering place where people could sit and talk and medicate and actually discuss cannabis, whereas it wasn't available to them prior, because again, there wasn't much or internet early on, as well as connecting for people to get educated or be in an environment where they could feel safe with other people to medicate. So that's been a challenge that we have, because even in California, a majority of cities have passed laws. And originally in my old location, we had vaporizers set up so people could come in and medicate. But in my current location, it's too small, so I don't have that availability. And it's deeply missed, that sense of cooperation, understanding, as well as the ability to medicate or learn how to medicate. A lot of people, you have to understand, are new to cannabis, and a lot of the young people have never smoked cigarettes, whereas a lot of older people have a causation with cigarettes, so they know how to actually inhale, where some people have to even be taught how to properly inhale, much less how to pack a pipe, how much to put in, much less what type of cannabis there is. So it's, I agree, there needs to be a normalization and something that as Todd was stating, we have to fight for in these local communities so that it becomes a normalization, so that it's not seen as this hidden away, fearful thing. Like a bunch of people think all these dispensaries are, we make them look like basements. And when they show up and see clean professional places, they're blown away. So
but
we have to dispel that type of misinformation.
And I wish we get what, I mean, honestly, the thing that really allured me to Amsterdam was the community around the cannabis culture, because you could sit down and meet people from all over, literally all over, and they were smokers. The only thing you had in common was the love of cannabis, and you could sit and talk. And I really do, I miss that now in America, that there isn't places, because even these outlets, I mean, BPG is nice, but that you know, and that having that place to go and sit and bond and meet people and talk to people, it's just something I can't wait when it happens here, because it's so beautiful.
We had it for a solid 10+ years, and it was
Why did it stop in Canada, you mean?
Well, the DEA came and arrested Mark Emery, and Mark was really funding so much of it, and not only funding it, but like creating that protective wing that other people would move into, like Blunt Brothers and the Amsterdam Cafe. These shops all kind of secured one another. They were in a rougher neighborhood, so they were allowed to exist. It was kind of like the same reason the cops aren't avidly busting our dispensaries here in Vancouver, while in Toronto, every other day one gets busted. So it's the same country, but the two different provinces look at it differently. Vancouver's like, it's just not a priority. And Toronto's like, we got nothing better to do.
Did those places stop work going after Mark went to jail?
Yeah. Yeah, Mark going to jail. Listen, Mark was funding the community. He was, when everyone was like, oh, he was giving away millions of dollars. It's like, yeah, he was funding the community. He wasn't only sending bail money to Americans that got caught with his seeds, which he did send a lot of. Like, I'm sure it was in the hundreds of thousands, if not the million plus, that he just gave to customers who bought seeds off him and then got busted, which was incredible, because I guarantee you very few of those people would have sent any of their profit to Mark if they had not been busted. But he was just funding the community. Like whatever there was happening, any of the parties, all of the activists, you know, like David Malmo Levine and Chris Bennett and all these guys. He sort of created a business, Dana Larson, the magazine, you know, full like education and information, you know, putting out massive quantities of information, just really all at a loss to himself. Like not, you know, like ever, it's not like everything was profitable. Pot TV, the first streaming, like put cannabis video content onto the internet. He did that out of his pocket. And I'm certain at one point in time, he was spending like 30 grand a month on it.
You know what everybody's missing, Mark? I just would point this out. It's not just all business. What people are really missing about sitting around and smoking harkens back to a time when they used to do something called satsang, where they sit around and talk with each other and lift each other up and empower one another rather than laying everybody down. They would exchange information freely. And
like we do on church.
Like we do on church. And the whole world's missing that. The world is missing being able to sit down and talk with each other. And it creates all the tension. And I said before, and I'll say it again, all the good that's in the world manifested here because of people's unselfish wish for another. And all the evil that's in the world manifested for greed. So we can get a handle on that, all of us at the same time, and not fight with the government, but Gandhi them to death until we get them to bow down. Or all of the people who are in power now are gotten old and retired, and younger, fresher ideas and cleaner and fresher minds are in place. And that's probably the only way we're going to climb out of this. We have to climb out of it righter then anything they've ever done to us, or it won't count.
It's definitely an accurate statement. I mean, Amsterdam is a very well-traveled city. People from all over the world go to Amsterdam, and that's why those coffee shops had a very unique, eclectic group of people that you could talk to from all over the world. And Vancouver is very much the same way, with all of those shops that existed here. While they didn't exist down south, not only were Americans coming up to check it out, and a lot of them, but people from all over the world, all over the world. It was a pretty incredible 10 plus years of just being able to go to Blunt Brothers or, you know, the Amsterdam Cafe, you know, even back then as well, my own shop, the Melting Point, and create this sort of atmosphere that was like, you know, a nice place to be able to sit down and talk to someone that you might not know, but maybe get to know someone that you're going to know for the rest of your life at this place. You don't meet people like that everywhere.
But you could if we all sat down.
Yeah. Well, now's the time that the whole new product, in my opinion, is bringing the community together. The people that are brave enough to open the speakeasies and allow people to come in, and this is going to be what is the change. I mean, because right now we're forced to stay home and, you know, stay out of sight, and it's wrong. I mean, we should have all the rights of the wine industry. And with that, we should be allowed to have community and to celebrate our success and not to feel down for ourselves. I mean, we should have all those rights too.
What you basically are calling for, Todd, are Amsterdam-style coffee shops, but scattered through every city in America.
Well, we should have a right to come together. I mean, if we have a right to bars and we have a right to wine tastings and we have a right to beer, you know, Oktoberfest things and beer gardens, we should have a right to get together and smoke cannabis as much as anyone else does.
I mean, you know, here in Canada, because we have federal law, I thought the idea would be to open up like a private club or a private lounge where people could come and just really, you know, smoke as much as they want, vape as much as they want. But it's not really my rule, because I see people doing it like, oh, you need to have a card from a club or what allows me to check someone's medical necessity of anything? If Canada has a law that allows it to be done, I can open a space that allows them to come and do it in. And I shouldn't have to check to see if they have permission from their government, from a prescription from their doctor to use. Yeah, and a note from their mom. Like, what the?
Marcus, maybe if you're selling the products to them, the cannabis products, but if they bring their own, for example, then yeah, it's just a private club.
That's it. I have no interest in selling them product.
It's how they do not allow us, or they do not relinquish control. They want to make it down like, okay, you have permission because you got a note from your mom. And you got a note from your mom and us, so you can sell a little bit more. And they never fucking really let go. We don't really get freedom. What we get is incremental bullshit.
No, we're going to get freedom. I'm printing up cards with your picture on them, and it says, Indra says, let me go.
Nice.
Dude, I already have 10,000 of those with your picture on them.
Oh my God.
Indra says, let me go. Skunkman Sam says, let me go. That's a hashtag right there.
But then Sam says, but send me a copy so I have one as an actual copy for my historical collection.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I'll send you 50.
That's funny.
But really, they don't want to really give us control. They want to incrementally give us tiny little bits. Look, Dr. Natasha is making things, cosmetics, that are helpful to people. And so why she's not putting crap in her cosmetics that the big companies put in theirs. Some of the stuff you look at in the big company stuff is absolutely over the fucking limit nasty.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And in fact, I've been using Natasha's cream, one of the creams she gave me. I just had the driest nose for years, and I'm a dude. I'm like, well, I don't moisturize. But I got this cream from Natasha, and I'm like, I opened it up. It's like, it just smells like really beautiful shea nut butter, but a bunch of other stuff too. But it's got that real hard, sort of soft, melts away beautifully. Like it's a high-end product. Even the case, the little jar and the cap are high end. She's definitely done a good job on that product. You guys deserve props. And I saw you guys were in like Vogue magazine. That's pretty it's pretty big time, hey?
Not quite there yet. Not Vogue. We were
It was
in,
Elle.
yeah, Elle magazine, but the UK version. So Elle UK, yeah.
Still a
Yeah,
huge
the
magazine.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And we actually still don't even know how they actually heard about us. We figure it's probably just through our website or online content, but yeah, so.
They watch
that was
Hash
nice.
Church,
Yeah.
clearly. Because we were also in that episode of Elle. I'm just
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Hopefully someday, yeah, we will have, because like, again, those products right now don't have cannabis in them. They have hemp seed oil, and we design them to target the endocannabinoid system and work very complementary with cannabis products. But as many of you know, my husband has his federal license. He has the updated, he's going through the updated ACMPR process, and he had the previous MMAR license to grow cannabis. So I've been his caregiver. So through that process, I've been able to develop cannabis topical pain blends for him. So we're also in the process of developing those products. I can't legally sell them at this point, but what we are doing is even our base blends work really well on their own. So I gave Johnny B for his birthday a little vial of some of the, like a little roller ball of one of the more cooling pepperminty blends that we make. But yeah, so we'll be looking at, well, we're still further developing them, getting the packaging really tight, figuring out where we want to have our products. But yeah, it's been interesting. And
hey, Natasha, do you ever see a sensitivity in any of your customers to peppermint? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with essential oils. There's people with all kinds of sensitivities, and that's one of the reasons I think it's very important to clearly label what you have in your blends. And a lot of these essential oil formulas, people want to protect their formula, which I understand, and so you can even get away with just putting like, oh, it just contains essential oils, and not actually listing which essential oils are in the formula. But people have all kinds of sensitivities. Like, they use it to like say essential oils are bad. Like, there was a lot of people in like trying to say lavender was harmful because some experiments have shown that linalool, when it's exposed to oxygen, becomes oxidized and can cause irritation in some people. So if you're using old essential oils and some of these terpenes are breaking down, they can cause more sensitization in certain people, especially people with sensitive skin. So again, you want to make sure you're using the freshest essential oils that you can when you're making these types of formulas, because you can cause allergies or reactions in some people. And even with my skincare products, like for facial use, I don't use essential oils in them really. The only types of essential oils I'll put in facial blends are things like tea tree oil, a little bit of lavender, as long as it's a fresher form of lavender, and as long as it has enough compounds in that blend to keep the lavender stable. So lots of antioxidants. So I use like vitamin C, vitamin E. Again, I try to get these in natural forms. The only kind of like additives I add to my facial blends are, I use a fat soluble form of vitamin C. It's tetradecyl ester. And that's a nice stable form of vitamin C, because vitamin C is normally water soluble. And a problem again is, so vitamin C is amazing for skincare because it's really good for age spots, and has like, for anyone using it for beauty or even for like healing wounds, or if you have like scar tissue, vitamin C can be really helpful for these kinds of things. But a lot of people buy the vitamin C powder, which is very affordable. And if you're making fresh blends, that's okay, like week to week. But a lot of these home formulas, the vitamin C breaks down really fast. And again, you can essentially have a useless product. But so then you put more of this compound in it, and it can cause irritation. So like, that's a bit of a, like, just be careful when you're using these things. And peppermint, don't put that on your face. That, whenever I make my menthol peppermint blends, I recommend them mostly for like feet or even your shoulders, but not really your delicate tissues. Because even some of the blends I make, they're really effective for like my shoulder, but if I put them on my hand, I find them like they hurt. So it's like, yeah, you have to be careful. You need to make sure you list what the strength of these blends are. Anyone who's ever worked with like chili pepper oil or capsaicin or black pepper or any of those types of blends, you can make very effective pain blends that are warming and can really help reduce pain. But again, you have to be very careful with the dose, because as Indra was saying, with water, dose makes the poison. So for instance, with chili pepper oil, low dose can actually activate your TRPV sensory receptors, similar to what the cannabidiol and other cannabinoids can do. And what the chili pepper does is it stimulates it, and in low doses, it can like stimulate them and then almost like numb them out. So it can be very good for pain. But as you all know, if you have too much of this chili pepper stuff, it is very painful and actually stings, cause intense heating and warming. So for instance, like I made this one blend, had a very low dose of chili pepper. I think it was like 0.1%. It was my low dose one. My mom tried the blend and she was like, this is useless. I don't feel anything. I tried it on my grandma and she was like on fire, like couldn't handle it. So again, it's like now I'm, after these types of experiences, I've been very careful with really labeling what's in my blends and telling people, similar with cannabis, start low, go slow, see how your body responds, because we're all very individual. Some things work really well for some people. Some things can make pain worse for some people. So especially peppermint, even like a lot of people are using, limonene as an additive, and people think limonene is safe all the time, but in high doses, if you're taking high amounts of this stuff, even if you're manufacturing these compounds and you're inhaling all of these terpenes all the time, in high doses, it can also cause irritation to your lungs. But this is different than perhaps like consuming it in like when you're smoking it and stuff. This is more you're working in like very high dose, like where you should actually be in a fume hood. It's more to the homemaker when you're breathing in a lot of these essential oils. Yes, they have benefits, but just be careful in very high doses. They can cause sensitivities.
Well, one thing people don't realize about the essential oils is they're also in high doses very, very intoxicating. My son and I once opened our 600-gallon lower chamber full of lavender oil without masks on, and we only got a couple of breaths, but we ran outside and then we couldn't stop laughing, and we laughed for about an hour and a half and our face was hurting and we wanted to stop laughing, but we couldn't. I would look at him and he would start laughing and point back at me. And finally, a couple of hours later, we came down enough to go back inside, and we closed the chamber and put masks on. But we were really, 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 truly intoxicated beyond belief from opening that chamber and having the overhead of that lavender just nailed us. And similar, once we extracted capsicum, we extracted some very hot pepper. We had to run outside, and while we were out there, a couple of mice ran out of the building right behind us, and they were also like drooling, and so all those oils are potentially dangerous.
Well, and that's a good point, what you said, even with the mice, because a lot of the experimental research, if you look back, a lot of these essential oils and terpenes are being studied for pest management, because, and I know lots of people know things like lemongrass for bug spray, but all of these essential oils have very strong pest management capabilities also. They can kill a lot of things. Yeah, so sometimes if you're putting too much on your skin, you can also kill some of your good bacteria. So again, it's about balance and dosing. But how long did the lavender last for? When you said you've experienced the really...
A good 2.5 hours. The hilarity laughing part was an hour and a half. It was very stressful because it was belly laughing. And we couldn't stop. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. And afterwards, we realized that, wow, this is a powerful intoxicant, because I had never... The only other time I laughed that hard was on laughing gas a few times, where you completely lose control. But the lavender, the fresh overhead from that much of it, 600 gallons, just hammered us. We had no chance whatsoever. I think all of the essential oils are probably powerful in that way. I just remember when the mice ran out of the building, the intense look of relief they had on their face as they ran into the cornfield where normally they would be killed. But to get out of that building was their only aim in life. These mice probably never focused on anything like getting out of that building at that moment. So I'm sure if you sprayed it under a house, everything that was under there would leave. But, you know, it might be toxic and it might go upstairs, and who knows. We have to learn how to use these things. These things are really, really, really powerful. And they have a long-term effect. And I live by the theory that there's some of everything in everything. That in you, the entire world and universe exists. It's all there in you. And it's all there in everybody else. And so all these parts of it are in us. And you can bring one to the top because everything has an affinity in this world.
You ever extract poison ivy?
No, I extracted poison oak once for a company in Massachusetts.
Boy, you think that would make like almost like some kind of warfare agent, right? You could just spray that on people.
You know what? We were really careful with it. We had masks. We have full head mask and oxygen things in our place where we can just pipe into pure oxygen. But it took a few things being uncapped in a great quantity for us to learn that. The lavender was one of the first.
Well,
ones.
that compound, that main irritant that's in poison ivy, is similar to that, and I might actually have TRP level. I don't even some type of inhibitory level on that same capsaicin receptor.
I know when I filed patent in 2002, I filed about terpenes and about capturing them in that early patent.
Yeah, no, these aren't terpenes. These are phenols, and these have.
Well, I didn't know
they have a long fatty tail too, so
the building blocks of terpenes.
Yeah, I didn't know about phenols at the time. I mean, I had just started learning about terpenes from the.
Yeah, they might be derived. I don't know. Maybe the poison ivy molecule is derived from terpenes. I could look into it, but I know it's a phenol for sure. And it's very particular about its substitution. Its substitution on that ring, if you change any of the substituents around, you don't get the activity that you get the poison ivy molecule.
What did they want the product isolated for? You said poison oak, or was it poison ivy?
Yeah, it was poison oak. They wanted some poison oak oil, and they didn't.
Jeez.
Companies didn't always divulge to us why they want something extracted. They came to us and asked us if we had the capability. I said, yeah. Make sure it's not an illegal thing that we do, and then they sent it to us, and we did it in the laboratory in our benchtop extractor that we have at the lab, and we packaged it right out of. We used nitrogen, put it into a collapsible bag that they sent us, closed it off, washed our equipment, and sent it off to them. I don't know what they were going to do with it, but I can tell you that the oil from it was dichromatic. One way you looked at it, it was golden yellow. The other way, it had a green sheen across it. It was very interesting looking oil.
Hey, welcome D420K.
Bong rip. How you doing? How's everybody doing?
We're just doing wonderful, having some fun conversation on this Sunday afternoon. Already been at it for almost 2 hours, actually, surprisingly enough.
I got a little story, just a little one.
No, we don't want to hear any stories today.
Oh, you got it.
I'm just joking.
These dogs beside me and the dogs behind me, I've never had a sleep in without these dogs waking me up from their owners, just letting them run loose. So I put a little complaint out, like I just complained on Facebook on a post, and I got a buddy that's got a huge PA system and another buddy that's got a wicked recording system that we've recorded these dogs, their own dogs barking, and I'm going to blast these guys with this PA system of their own dogs barking at about 3 a.m. this morning coming up.
Jesus.
And I mean blast them with these dogs, their own dogs barking. So it's going to be kind of funny. I mean, I'm
Tony Soprano style.
I think I might have to record it just to do it. Like, the neighbors aren't bad; they're good people, and I don't mind them. We all get along pretty good. But this is going to be my little way of showing a little fuckery to them. Dabs, give me that.
It's one of those situations, hey, where if you're truthful to them, you come across as an asshole.
Well, yeah. Well, they got bark collars on the dogs and everything, like for when they let them out at night. But
see that shit?
No.
It's George Carlin.
Oh yeah, until you're truthful.
Tell you're truthful, yeah. Then you're just an asshole.
Well, I'm just gonna give them a little example of it and say, oh, what? You guys don't like that? It's your dogs. It's your dogs barking. It's not like it's me. So maybe put the dog collar on them at night, or 5 o'clock in the morning when you let them out. That's all. So that's my little story. A little bit of fuckery today.
Dogs barking. That'll drive you nuts.
I cannot wait to hear how this goes down. Oh my God.
I went to this.
Epic.
Oh yeah, I went to this pancake breakfast that they hold at the Eagles Hall here, and I got loaded up. And the people that cook the pancake breakfast are my neighbors. So I talked to him. I said, "Oh, buddy, you wait till you see what I got in store for you. I got a PA system, and I recorded your dogs. Wait till tonight." He's like, "Huh?" I go, "Probably about 3 a.m." He's like, "Oh, come on, D, not 3 a.m." I'm like, "Yeah, probably about 3 a.m. Well, 2 hours before you get up to let your dogs out at 5. He's like, "Oh, can we work it out?" I'm like, "I don't know, maybe." Put your collars on. Those bark collars, they put them on those dogs. Those dogs don't make a peep. They go do their stuff. They can bark all day. I don't care. But then it's the waking me up every single day for the last 5 years.
Just blast.
Oh, 5 years?
The very first day I lived in this house, the guy had the fence post off, one of the fence things, and that dog came out at 5 o'clock in the morning and stood outside my bedroom window and barked until I went outside and said to the guy, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" Like, I chased the dog out of my yard the first day we lived here.
But you know those bark collars.
You know, man, I think you should just take this into your own control and give him a little meat treat. You know, a little bong hit for the dog, bro. Dog will love you, and you can probably cap the problem, you know?
What do you think, Todd? Like a gram of 99.999% gland heads? Or?
Well, mix it with some CBD. You might be having joint problems.
And some peanut butter.
Those bark collars are nasty, you know. I put one on Gnarly, my little chihuahua, because he was always barking at people. And the first time it set off, he did a 360 in the air. And he laid there for a little while trying to figure out what happened. So he got up and barked again, and he did another 360. And after seeing that, I took it off him. I didn't have the heart to leave it on him.
Yeah, he's too small for the. He's too small of a dog. You could get him the one that sprays the essential oil in his face. They don't like that either. Even just the sound, they hate that fucking sound.
Well,
and it comes right out of the collar.
You know, though, it really falls on the owner. The owner should hear one bark and call them in immediately and not allow it. I mean, I have dogs. I would never be rude to my neighbor.
Or train him.
It's not like that. The dog behind me, when he barks, I can get up and tell him to shut up and go lay down. That dog goes up on his porch, shuts up, and lays down. He's cool.
But do you want?
But you, as my neighbor, should never have to, dude. My dog should never bother my neighbors.
Yeah. No, I'm surrounded. I'm surrounded by 3 of them, and it's I'm gonna combat it with like there's a I can get a train whistle hooked up to an air compressor.
Oh.
So whenever they do that, I'm gonna and I'm gonna blast out. We're setting one of those up today. Like I'm going to war the best, friendliest way, non-harmful way that I can.
Dude, air horn at the fence would be pretty effective, in my opinion.
I think so. I think so. Like it's a bit of a train one.
It might prove very satisfactory too. Pushing that button right when the dog gets up to the fence.
Activated by the dog's barking.
What's that?
Get a horn, an air horn that's activated by the dog's barking.
Bingo.
Yes. Oh man, I'm setting shit up. It ain't happening. Like I got this area that for my little dabs, and these dogs, these 2 big lab pit bull crosses are just at the fence, and my little dog's trying to be tough and barking back and everything. And I want to set my area up for her. I'm grassing it and putting a house and everything. I don't want that to be just, you know, a constant thing. So it's getting dealt with.
I have a robot arm that has a laser face tracking system on it. You could do the laser face tracking system and a tiny hose, high pressure water over the fence. Every time the fucking dog showed up and barked, it squirted him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got hoses out there too. It's too cold right now to run the hose. Everything's frozen.
Oh my god, dude! I think air horn, because it also sends a message to the neighbor.
Oh yeah.
I just picture
poison oak extract, right?
two weeks goes by and there's just like a crater where Dee's house and his neighbor's house used to be. He's got the whole thing documented. Well, today was the day. Fucking everybody's gone.
No, it's pretty funny because the neighbors are not bad guys. The guy is a pretty good dude. The guy's wife, I won't say.
It's just their dogs are dicks.
But their dogs are fucking dicks. And I've got a good neighbor policy with them. Like I snow blow their driveway when they're out of town. Like I've been a good
you're
neighbor.
A good neighbor. You are a good neighbor.
Absolutely. And it's time to be an absolute fucking prick.
Right.
Politely.
Well,
very
it's not really being a prick, you know. It's a pretty major thing to be woken up every day, especially when you have full days ahead of you, lots of work. It's not really fair.
No, what did they say when you asked him about it?
Oh, he told me he has bark collars and they're usually pretty good with those on. Maybe
But can I switch this up? As soon as you hear your dog make fucking noise at fucking pre-6 a.m., could you please just call him in so I don't wake up?
Oh yeah. I'm having a talk with him today. I told him at the place.
It would be the polite thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's several home remedies that can be used for canine laxatives.
Well, just blast them still. Just blast them at 3 a.m. Fuck that.
Yeah, like
5 years of bullshit. Just blast him.
I vote here.
Canine laxatives actually that work, sort of in an uncontrollable way.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't want to go to that level, literally. If I'm going to go to a type of level that I'm going to drug them up and make them shit all over the house and everything, I might as well just hop the fence and fucking break their necks.
No, that's the air horn.
Right. Like, I don't want to hurt anyone, any of them. I don't believe in it. And it just wouldn't happen. I just have to eat the fucking barking before I did anything like that.
Air horn. It's not violent. It's loud. It will make the dog shit themselves.
You know what else works really good? Chloroform.
No, because you know
what's
what?
in the box? What's in the box?
I think it's the neighbor you really have an issue with.
Well, I think it's his wife mostly. But
I think it's the dogs.
Yeah, I think it's the barking. If his wife's out there at 5 a.m. barking, then it's the wife.
No, she's the one that lets him in when I get up, go up my patio and scream, "Shut the fuck up," as loud as I can. Then she comes out the door and she's like, "Jersey," and the other one, I don't even know the other one's name, and then calls him in, and it's just like, I just look at her. I said to her yesterday, I said, "I'm going to get 6 dogs that are going to make your dogs look like choir children, because mine are going to be so noisy 24/7. I was just pissed yesterday. I'm sweating a little bit right now talking about it. It just fucking riles me up because it's an
someone in chat's like, did Dr. Mark just advocate dosing the dog? Man, sometimes people are too liberal. You know?
That's what I'm talking about.
Joking around.
I don't want
to. Buddy.
I think that was Mike Bishop. Come on, Bish. I'm not kidding around. But if your dog is constipated, if you do suffer from canine constipation, there are several natural homespun remedies for canine laxatives. And I can tell you that sometimes it works on command.
How about we all do a bong rip?
Strawberry banana.
Ooh, nice.
I got that strawberry banana. Little DNA genetics.
OG Kush. The Kush.
My God. I love when the hit just tastes like candy, fruit, like delicious. Just delicious. I don't even know how else to put it.
Oh, wait till you
Bong
take
rip there, D.
Bubble hash, buddy. Wait till you taste that 6-star bubble that I made. And I've got about 15 more garbage bags of it, of the really nice fresh frozen, to not full garbage bags, but quite a bit to make into the fresh frozen bubble hash. And it's just fucking candy. I can't believe it. Can't believe it.
Candy is good.
So how's the wee dab doing there, Dee? There she be.
Doing good. He's crazy. He's a little terrorist. She's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yum.
So Marcus, when will you be in Barcelona?
I get to Barcelona on the 9th, which is crazy because Legends of Hash is going to be on the 10th that night, which means I have literally one day at the event to sell people tickets. But I do want to announce, thank you for actually bringing this up because I probably never would have, that if people do want to get tickets, Flav421 on Instagram is going to have tickets, and I hope he's going to drop some off for sure at La Calada, potentially at Wee Flowers, and I haven't talked to David at HQ yet, but I suspect he'll be on point for allowing tickets to be sold there as well. So we'll have tickets available that way, and I would say, yeah, be quick about it because there's no, usually I wait till the last day of the event and I use the whole event to see people and to check things out and to move the tickets that way, but it's going to be a lot more rushed than that. So thanks for reminding me and asking that question, Etienne. That was very helpful. Just never remember my own shit.
I'm here to help.
How
Yes,
many
you
Legends
are.
have you done in Barcelona?
This will be the second Legends in Barcelona. I did 3 of them in Vancouver, and I believe we did 13 of them in Amsterdam.
No, we did 12 in Amsterdam.
Okay, so 13 was Barcelona 1.
Yeah.
There it is. So number 2 for Barcelona this year, and I'm planning on being there this year. So hopefully it'll be pretty good. Got a couple of little things planned, and
well, one
see
thing
how it goes.
You'll have to admit, Marcus, that the last few Legends that we've had, both the last couple ones in Amsterdam and the one in Barcelona, the quality seems to double at every single event.
Yeah, the quality is on point. Like I said, I didn't get to smoke anything from Legends in Barcelona. Remember how sick I was? I showed up, I set everything up, I paid all the bills, and then I split.
Well, you're pretty smart now. You won't have time to get sick before Legends.
Right? How did I come in a 3rd time? Oh, wow, that's cool. We're all Bubble Man's world. How's it going, Tony? That was totally trippy. I was literally looking at Todd thinking he's frozen and that's going to be him. But when it opened up and it was you, it literally shocked me. So welcome to Hash Church. And of course, happy 72nd birthday to Tony.
Oh, to my dad. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're most welcome.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's I told him I was rooting for him. He started laughing. He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you know, if you live to 90, that's gonna allow me to live longer, you know." I said, I'm rooting for you. He's like,
right?
He's like, what a way to look at it. I was like, you're 72, you got another 20 years.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, hopefully 90 is amazing. I think, man, I wished my dad could have made it past 55. Even like to 65, 70 or whatever would have been, meet more of the kids, his grandkids, and just see a lot more. He didn't meet 2 of his grandkids, his granddaughter, my sister's daughter, and my 3rd son. He never got to meet. So it's the things you think about as you get older. You just want your parents to meet your kids.
Yeah.
For real. Yes, Stephen Puente. R.I.P. to all the dads and all the moms,
And the moms, you bet. My stepdad and I were talking just the other day, thinking how much my mom would just absolutely be in the best glory she could be in, surrounded by all the grandchildren and everything like that are there today. It's really amazing. I can picture her with a smile on her head, surrounded by them. Like she's missed greatly. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So last night I went to a secret sesh
How was that? Is that Adam guy that throws those?
I don't know if it was a secret sesh or what it was, but it was with the Czar brothers. I guess it was the
cool.
first time there was all non-solvent at the event. Like
At their property?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So how was that? I saw the picture of you with the Dank Duchess and some other folks there. You all looked pretty darn happy.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, they were taking some pictures. I walked in and I never got past the first chair on the first table on the left. So I sat down and I brought some some of the Bubble Man like flower rosin and the Wi-Fi, but then I came out. Remember how we were working on the little oils and stuff? This is what's left of the lemon fuel. It's like really for that, more for a vape pen, remember that kind of thing. But then I made this stuff. It's called this was like the running kind of humor through the whole night. This was the cream. It's like the terp cream.
Yeah, yeah. I see the color in that. That's I recognize that one.
Yeah, it's creamy. So what I was doing was just pouring. This thing was full last night. So what I was doing was doing dabs of the strawberry banana goo and then pouring the cream, if you will. I'll demonstrate it. I'll demonstrate it for you because I haven't had anything yet this morning. So
yeah, start us off, dude. Start us off.
Let me demo this.
This is good. This is good. He's got his heady piece. Little torching. Look at that. You know, I want to give him a mad thumbs up to how fast he muted his mic before he turned on his torch. Because I have to say, I was gearing up for the in my ears. Thank you, Tony.
You act like he's never done this before.
It's not his first rodeo, but you know what? We get all, you know, Tony in particular, because he's a very focused person. He never notices the things he's doing with his hands when he'll get right into talking and he'll be like going deep on something and maybe being like, have a pen in his hand going click, 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 click. So I was ready for it but he was on that shit. He was on that shit.
He was chopping up lines. Remember that one time? Sounded like he was chopping up lines.
Yeah, I can't remember what the chopping up lines was. It was nothing like that. I remember him
No, it wasn't.
No, it's my dog food. I have raw organic dog food that I freeze dried that I had water back in. And what I was doing was I was chopping up the freeze dried food.
Oh, fuck. That's fun. I'm joining you for a rip. D420K.
Bone rip. Tony, what do you feed your doggy?
Other dogs.
Yeah, I feed her like carrots and string beans and lamb and all kinds of everything but chicken. To be honest with you.
How come everything but chicken?
She's allergic to chicken.
Oh, okay.
Well, we think she's allergic to chicken. She lost some of her hair on her face when she was younger, and the doctor said she was allergic to chicken. But I can tell you that, like, when we went to when I went to this one farm out here to look at some CBD material, this lady had like 2 or 3. They had like 3 chickens on the property. Okay, hold on a second. I'll tell you the story after this.
Is that a walk-in freezer in your bedroom?
No, that's
deep
funny.
freezer.
All right, so we're gonna do a little. Oh shit! Hold on. Get this thing ready.
Get it going.
People were coming. People were coming up trying to get creamed last night.
Dr. Natasha, do you have any formulas for
Here we go.
doggies and their organic feeds and anything like that? Do you have any ideas for that? Or Mark? I want to feed my doggies the best I can. I give her wild rice, organic free-range chicken or turkey, green beans, peas, carrots, some cheese, a little bit of shredded cheese in there, and maybe a little bit of fried egg. Is there anything better?
I think, well, dog health is similar to nutrition health in that it's very individual. And so it sounds like you guys are doing a good job and just even experimenting with foods that your dogs can tolerate or can't tolerate, because most people are still not even on that level. It's just like following a recipe and being like, why didn't my dog respond to this? But so I don't personally make dog diets or anything, but I've been asked a few times to look into the issue and people who were thinking about it. And my husband Dave's mom actually does small breeding with golden retrievers. It's more of a hobby than like it's a small business for her, but she's very knowledgeable about large breed dogs. And it was interesting, you said your dog was allergic to, what did you say, chicken? Yeah, because like with Dave's mom's dogs, they also can't have chicken, and a lot of them, it gives them diarrhea, and so they have to be a little creative with meats they can feed the dogs. And some people have their dogs on raw diets, some have them on cooked diets. And again, I think it depends on what's working for your dog and what they're responding to, because similar to humans, they can have allergies or insensitivities, or even go through phases where they can't tolerate something for a little bit and then maybe they can tolerate it again. But again, it's like focus on real food, a spectrum of food. And one thing people don't realize is essential fatty acids is really important for dogs and cats, especially to keep their coat and their fur really, really nice and shiny. So if you're not giving them a little essential oil supplement, and I think the trick to doing that is just to mix it in with their food, because it can have a fishy, and some animals will like. So yeah, that's really all I have to comment on that. And the other thing that I can say is that some people try to put their animals or their pets on a vegetarian or a vegan diet. And again, keep in mind that animals are different than us, and usually they do need some type of meat or protein. Although there is this one interesting study that they did with husky dogs, and they put them on a vegetarian diet for a really short term. I think it was like 3 weeks. And then they compared them to huskies that were on a regular meat diet. And they found that they didn't get sicker or anything. They actually were healthy. They were able to run and perform all the dog tests, and their blood spectrums were similar. So, I mean, I'm not totally against doing these types of diets if they're done correctly. And again, I think if a dog is going through cancer or has like an inflammatory disorder or similar to humans, like these types of issues, going on a plant-based diet for a short term as a therapy can be really effective. So yeah, it's very similar to humans. It's a spectrum, and you're really eating toward what is the dog healthy? Is it growing? Is it older? Is it fighting a disease? And what breed? So
Also,
it can also get really complicated.
Yeah, also the water is really important that the dog's drinking. You know, like if you use Evian or Fiji water, it could get expensive for your dog. I have a little dog, but you could use these little, you could do like a little, Home Depot sells like what they call a cube, which goes underneath the sink and kind of does your first filtration. And then you could do I'll show you these little ionic exchangers for the house that are pretty good. Oh, hold on.
Is that for keeping the pH high in their diet? Going?
Yeah, yeah. As well as yours, it's healthy for you too. So I'll show you.
The only thing with that stuff is make sure there's a good source of magnesium, because normally tap water or regular water has some magnesium in it. So make sure they're getting the bottled water or whatever water source. Similar to us, many humans and dogs are probably magnesium deficient. So you need magnesium. It's really important for like everything in your body, but where you'll notice if you're low in magnesium is you'll get muscle cramps. You might have anxiety. Your pain might feel worse. So magnesium, something's really easy to add to improve health, and it's super safe. Just don't overdo it though, because if you take too much magnesium, it'll cause diarrhea. So that's if you're trying to take magnesium supplements or in water and you're for some reason getting diarrhea, reduce the magnesium. That's really the only bad side effect of too much.
And you could also, when you talk about meats, that's why things are important. Like my dog likes salmon, so you could get like different types of meats will also carry amino acids, but they'll also have essentials, and they could have different contents of magnesium too. It just depends on what you're making in the food, you know.
For sure. Do you guys do any like greens for your dogs, like any cooked veggies? I know you had mentioned a few things, but greens specifically, because
she likes string beans.
Okay, but the greens, leafy greens, so like I guess spinach or something like that.
Kale, I got dried kale in there.
Really? A
Well,
good
I
one.
got kale steaming right now with a wild rice blend. So I mixed that with free range chicken. I got some fish today. I'm actually gonna put in it today. Some nice white fish. He eats better than
I had problems with my dogs with grains, and the three I have now, the two of them, their dad had issues with his skin conditions and stuff, so I switched him off of grain-free, or I went to grain-free food with their dad, and they've never been on grains, and they are super healthy. And I take some hemp nut, dehulled hemp seed, and I sprinkle it on their food occasionally.
That's good.
And I think it's just a great booster. If you go too much with it, it loosens things, so I don't recommend going too overboard with the dehulled hemp seed, because there is a lot of oil in it. But a little bit is great all the time.
I think that
Actually, the hulled hemp seed, what you're saying, Todd, about it too much causing diarrhea, basically, but it can actually be used as a treatment for constipation. So if your dog is having issues, like I know my sister has a little toy poodle that is super adorable, and everyone wants to give him little snacks at the table because he does his fun little dance, and it's hard to resist. But then he gets super constipated. So it's like even knowing little solutions like adding some hemp seed fiber to the food is a good way to help get their bowels back on track. So
yeah, that said, whole hemp seed in your dog's food would be even more fortuitous, because the fiber would help, any unfortunate cleanups that might have to happen. Just saying, that happens. So yeah, fiber in your dog's diet, but definitely the hemp seed. The whole hemp seed would be great. You're in Canada, you can get super fresh hemp seed too. Someday in California, someday.
can you guys show your dogs? Show us your puppies that you're all good dads to your dogs. That's really
you want to see Ola?
Yeah.
She's pretty famous.
So that's Dax.
Come on, Todd, get your herd.
This is Dabs. And she's a spoiled little pup, that's for sure.
Come over here.
I'm pretty thrilled that they're quiet right now, so I'm not going to even go there.
She gets yappy. She's a good alarm system. I'm here to protect her. She can just let me know when people are coming in.
How old is she?
She's about 20 weeks old.
Oh, she's just a baby.
21. And she is like one of the easiest to look after pups that I've ever had so far. I've got pee pads around the house, 3 different spaces, and she does not make an accident on the floor. She wants to go outside all the time. She's a real absolute pleasure to have, actually. She's a good girl. And she's crazy.
Since we've been talking about dog nutrition, let's talk about cannabis therapeutics for dogs, because that's a big hot area right now. And even one of the medical doctors, the pain specialist that we work with, her dog, she has been experimenting with cannabis for her dog for 2 conditions. One, her dog was attacked a few times and bitten, and so they've used a topical cannabis therapeutic to help heal wounds and help with even itching, inflammation, and irritation. And as a result of these wound attacks, the dog actually is suffering from PTSD, which actually went through the process of getting the diagnosis and could be taking medication for this. And so they've decided to try cannabis for the dog. And again, they're using an oral CBD strain in this situation, and it's helping with anxiety, helping calm the dog. And so now there's some, sorry, what were you saying?
When they're sick, dogs chew on grass and herbs because they're looking to get cannabinoids in their system.
That is friggin' interesting, because I see dogs eating grass lots, cats too.
Did you say that was interesting?
Yes.
Stop it.
I would say that my dog has she's in the awakened state. She definitely doesn't just seek out cannabis for digestive and health reasons. I've seen her, like if there's an edible in the house, whether it's
She's pro-rec?
she's pro-rec. I'm very medical and she's pro-rec.
Adult use. Adult use. Ola's going to start this adult use campaign.
Yeah.
Big
She really
campaign.
is. Basically, if you have an edible of any kind in your bag with anything in it, from psychedelics to cannabis, and it's in double Ziploc, in a backpack, in a zipper, and you leave the house, this dog is going to figure out how to open the zipper, open the compartments, remove what that would be, and absolutely get into it.
Do that, Tony.
Huh?
Do you take your dog on the plane?
I take her on the plane. Like if she walks your garden or into the greenhouse, she's gonna nibble on all the low leaves. Like you're gonna think like after we walked, you'd see all the little low leaves would be like little nibbles on it. She loves the leaves. She loves to eat them. She loves to eat the whole bud. She likes to eat edibles. She likes cannabis smoke. She eats my little Q-tips that I clean my bong out with. She'll suck on those as snacks. I mean, she doesn't chew. You know what I mean? Like she's definitely a different type of dog than.
Etienne asked Mark if he's got a little family pet, and Mark, you have to tell him about your little warrior doggy, because this dog is a warrior. I survived hell. Like, go ahead, Mark.
Who asked that? Someone on the chat?
No, Etienne did.
Oh, Etienne did. Yeah, I got a little dog. He's in the other room, probably sleeping on his pillow. He's been through some shit.
Oh.
He's been through some stuff. He's had kidnappings where it was the equivalent of being in the van with the guys with masks jump out and take you. Like literally, he was in a coyote's mouth being taken into the forest. Yeah, hanging there. But he released and fell out because of his titanium hip that he got when my neighbor crushed him with her car and like shattered his entire hip, and he had to get this big surgery because of that. And then he also got attacked by raccoons one time, like 5 of them, and they bit all over his body. He had 15 puncture marks in his throat, which totally changed the way he barked. But I'll tell you, man, he's a little survivor. He have to be protected from himself because he's kind of just wants to get out as far as he can go, and that's why escaping. He got hit by the car. He got attacked by the coyote. So now we've got him contained in an acre, and he's much happier. No more attacks. He's a tough little bastard. He's Rambo. My dog is Rambo.
He is so cool. That dog just jumps up as soon as I'm there and won't leave me alone.
The little dog that I met?
Yeah.
The one that won't go where the flags are?
Yeah. Exactly, dude.
We were walking around your house and you were laying these little construction flags on the ground. I was like, oh, what's that little flag for? He's like, oh, Rambo won't go, or I didn't know I forgot what his name was.
Rambo, that was awesome.
He wouldn't go near the flags.
Well, because we had to do that, because otherwise he's going to end up dead. He's like such an adventurer. So for his own protection, he's got an acre now that he can hang out on the property. Ooh, don't stop. Don't stop.
You want to take a hit, huh? You want a bong rip? Bong
rip.
She heard you, saw it?
I did see that. See that. I'll have another one. Why not?
You want a bong rip? Oh, yeah. Hold on a second.
Rambo. Someone just texted me as well and said, today is the anniversary of the chocolate Oscars, i.e. Tony's dog shitting in the hotel a year ago.
Oh, the Academy Awards.
Yeah, the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
that's
I was
right.
telling that story the other day where it was like at the W, and there's like no grass whatsoever, not even around the trees. It's like they poured concrete or they had something like right up to the base of the tree. And
right.
she's just like looking around. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. There's no grass here in LA. And then she was just like, multiple times, like we've had to go to the bathroom on the sidewalk there, and I was cleaning up. And then that day, there was a red carpet there, and she really didn't care whether it was red concrete, but she likes carpet. She likes pads like that. She's used to the red carpet treatment, So
the red carpet treatment.
for her, she was like, "Thank you, finally somebody put some grass out for me." The look on that guy's face, though, man, the guy that he had like headsets on, 3 different phones on him. He was like directing traffic, all kinds of stuff going on. He was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, he was like, "Jesus," and I'm like, I don't. His whole thing is fucked.
Oh my God. Stressing that guy out, dude. One day he'll come across you on YouTube and be like, "That fucking guy and that fucking dog."
Yep. All right, so we're gonna do just a direct cream.
Dude, you poured that cream in. That looked ridiculous, by the way.
Did you see how it foamed up like Frappuccino?
Well, I was trying to, but right as you started pouring it, Darren asked his question about the dog food, and then so it took the camera to him. Mm-hmm. And so I would click it on you, but then he kept talking and it would click back to him, and I was clicking it as fast as I could. So do it again. I want to see that shit get poured into the quartz. That's a video, actually, dude. Honestly.
Yep.
That's like Uber head stash right there.
That is serious.
That is serious. So there you go. That's something you'll see on Hash Church. Tony turning a nice color red.
Bong rip, everybody else too.
That's the way. Dude, that was wicked. Did you see that? That was the bong rip, everybody else too. That's how you say it after, but it's still before. It's fucking...
Oh. Bong rip, saliva drip.
Oh, yeah, it was the cream. I was like, "Did you come by to get creamed?" Everybody was like, "Yes, Terp creams." I was like, so this is
yeah, but it's not that good, Tony, if it didn't even make you drool.
Well, it's pretty clean.
Drool. I saw it.
I definitely drooled out the top of my head. You know, sweat. Let's see what we can do here.
What about some good old snot blowing?
Good old snot blowing. I didn't see a drool and go down to one knee.
Go down to one knee.
I was telling that story actually of the legends to Miggy and Smokey. Remember Smokey Genetics?
Yeah, I have to say the drool is still the standard.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really like a cream. It's like a cream chaser. You know, it's like adding cream to your coffee, like a nice froth. You know, you can still drink the coffee. Coffee's great. But
we need to get a hubble bubble, a hubbly bubbly in Barcelona for the legends. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that was the conversation we had last night with Smokey and everybody. I was like, listen, and he had never gone to Amsterdam. And I was like, listen, that first year in Spain wasn't really like, I would say the full experience, you know? I was like, usually, you know, everyone brings like 5 or 8 grams, and there's judges that like go through it, and then the winner gets circulated, the top 3 gets circulated to everybody. We kind of had a free-for-all when you were sick, so it's kind of like you were gone, you were sick, and then we just put the hash in the middle, and
let's fucking do this.
Yeah, it was like old school, but the problem was there was more people than hash.
Yeah,
so,
the problem was that we thought people would gleefully share, but instead it was vulture time.
Vultures. Like, you ever seen, you go to a park or a Japanese fish pond and they have those great guppies and they're kind of floating around and they're huge fish and they got the whiskers and everything. You just take a handful of that, you know, the pebbles that you get there for their food.
Right.
And you just chuck it into the whole thing. You just chuck it right into the water. And the fishes go at it. They're like, fish are out of water trying to eat these pellets. They're on top of other fish on top of fish. And they're all out of water, just like trying to get it. So it was like, you know, hungry hippo meets those kind of fish when that hash at the table. And
well, that won't happen this year.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying to Smokey, and I said, and the other thing was there's supposed to be a ceremonial smoke-off of all the remaining hash in a rig that, like, you know, you're supposed to smoke until you can't literally smoke anymore, and then we're going to air pressurize that smoke into your lungs a little further until you're taking a knee, you know, because I would say that the highest I've ever been in my whole life was at Legends, off that Hubbly Bubbly.
Well, to smoke an Afghani Hubbly Bubbly correctly, you have to smoke too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I could tell you that because I told my story of when Milo, like, he must have been in line or something, but all I remember is Dave was on a knee, and he and had like matches, and like was you know, on this big bowl, and there wasn't like normal hits. It was like I remember you had you had to have one of those air pumping things that they use for fireplaces.
Yeah, we had to blow it out too. You'd have to lift it and blow. The worst part of it was blowing and clearing the Hubbly Bubbly. If you were that person, not the person lighting it, but generally the one lifting it up, and then blowing out all the dead smoke in the chamber, that is like being in a house fire. That is, I got as high doing that as I did hitting and even lighting the Hubbly Bubbly. Because that was just cloud after cloud after cloud. Everyone blowing it on you as well.
I was there on my knee, and I can tell you that after a whole bunch of people hitting on that Hubbly Bubbly,
right?
I couldn't even barely stand up, and I had to walk outside and take a few big breaths of air for a minute or two.
Yeah.
Then I came back in and got back to work with my matches.
Yeah,
everyone spends a little bit of time on the front street at Legends.
I would, yeah, but you were the, you know, that, like, you know, when you're in a athletic competition, or you're on like a football team or basketball team, the coaches yell at you to hustle up or do whatever. But I remember you were basically yelling at us to keep. You're like, listen, dude. You're not here to mess around. I need you to inhale 5 or 6 good times in a row. Deepest hits you can do.
Then take a deep breath and hold it.
And then take the deep breath and hold it. And I went about 5 or 6. I think I went 6 huge. Like the 6th one was the ringer. That was the first time in my life I had an audio experience from smoking from cannabis, because I heard, and everything went into an audio tunnel of this.
Yeah,
like
we all heard your head ringing too.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, exactly, bro. Oh my God. That was so fucking perfect.
Yeah, no, I'll never forget that, because I sat down and Milo came up to me. He's like, "Are you okay?"
Hey, check this out.
Like,
El Vikingo in the chat room just said, I'm going to Barcelona and I have a nice Hubbly Bubbly to bring. So if that is a nice Hubbly Bubbly and it's clean and it's in working order, that would definitely, that's one way to get to Legends.
Ask him to send you a photo of it so we can check it out. I mean, not at this moment, but when he can.
That'd be great, El Vikingo. If you heard that, Skunkman Sam requesting a photo. If you want to send that to bcbubbleman@icloud.ca. No,
and Bubbleman, you can count me in for 2 tickets for myself and 1 for my partner she's coming with, if possible.
Nice, dude. Nice.
I'm there.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We got some good surprises in store. I think it'll be a nice time. It's you know, it's not, we don't plan this the way like Lorenzo's been planning the Masters Cup. Now that's going to be like a serious competition, big event. He's got all sorts of pipes and trophies and rings and medals. And, you know, he's really put a lot of time and energy into it. Tony's a judge, as well as AJ Sour Diesel and myself, Frenchie Cannoli, and Drew. Is it Drew? Drew, can't remember his last name. I think it's Drew. 5 judges for the Masters Cup. Goes from the 6th till the 11th in Barcelona. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys there for some of these events. We're still trying to throw together a Blue River party. Already got a venue secured for that, but no idea if what Tony and I are going to actually put together.
I have a little idea. I do have a little idea.
Sweet.
I've got some special shirts made up, both black and blue or black and pink. Remember I had only the female pink version?
Right. Yep, I do.
So we're doing a really soft, like a little longer, softer T-shirt than the last series. But I've kind of been obsessed with trying to find the perfect T-shirt and the softness and like non-shrinking and all that shit because I'm taller. So definitely gonna have just LTs and XLTs. Like all the shirts will also be in longer variations. But yeah, they're gonna be like some. I'll be handing those out with a ticket. I have a little ticket thing. I'm gonna show you design that you could wear. And then it's gonna come. I'm trying to get these little kits, and I think it's gonna come with some terps too.
You know, Robert Carroll's in chat right now. Remember last Blue River party, he donated his rosin for all the terp dips that got done, like hundreds.
Yeah.
Like literally, that guy literally kicked down like 10 grams of rosin. He's literally in chat right now saying, Marcus, Robert Carroll here, let's do that Blue River party.
Yeah.
He's down. He's a supporter. I'm telling you, it was, you know, the way I throw parties is to not really shamelessly promote anything as much as the experience itself. So I don't usually promote them prior to the parties. It's very rare for me even to be talking about them before they happen. And we just don't promote it in a way that like is for, you know, I just hate the shameless promotion of all these events that I go to and how we have to like sell our shirts and sell our have our business cards and our pamphlets and our products, and we sit at the booth for the whole time. And the whole reason the way Legends came to be was like accessing all these great people to have an event where we remove as much of that as possible and unveil. What's that?
Marcus, the big difference is, first of all, this is invite only. I mean, you have to be a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and I wanted to make a shirt to give away is what my thing was. Like, we didn't have anything before that you leave with. So this time I'm trying to make little things that you could leave with.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
always,
like,
a shirt is always essential.
I'm trying to get like this little terp kit and maybe give away some free terpenes too. You know, like just like as an experience, like you said, as experience, but there was nothing.
Well, dude, the whole party is like like, man, the amount of terpenes we gave away at the last one.
Yeah.
You were pouring 10 droppers into waters and like just like let's get this party started. It was definitely something to be a part of in the sense that it was very fly by the seat of our pants. But thank you to the guys at La Colada for supplying the space and just being overall amazing people. I think they also they took Legends too, didn't they?
Yeah, they actually took the judges section of Legends, not the people's choice, but like what we actually chose.
Right.
Because they had, I mean, it was like flawless fucking sift. It was perfect glass little see-through eggs.
I'll make sure I bring a little printed chart of the entries and the winners from last year.
Nice. Yeah, well, I'll make sure I bring some paper and pens and some things that make it easy for us to document to a degree. Of course, Legends is a very strict no picture, no cameras, no cell phones, no texting, no fucking talking on your phone. It's really like if you want to donate a couple hours of your time to a really nice venue, to a really nice event, to a group of great people, really loving hash, and eat some good food and drink some nice drink, then that's what it's really for, more than any single promotion or trying to, you know, make it something it's not, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, what it has done, though, is it's dragged the quality of homemade hashish in the West from back when it was just, you know, okay or good to sometimes now quite fantastic.
I'll tell you. I agree. It's amazing what people have been doing out in Spain. They have that beautiful sun, very nice soil, and they have the ability to produce some really nice resin outside, whether field pot or greenhouse. It grows pretty nice down there. The resin comes to fruition, and I really love the look of the hash that you get. You know, we're losing a lot of this look, this very glandular, globular, amber to even reddish color. More people using freeze dryers, more people removing moisture instead of curing moisture. And so it creates a different end product, especially from a photographer standpoint, which obviously is also going to stand true from a smoker's perspective as well. It definitely is going to have minor changes when you preserve terpenes in a freeze dryer versus curing them out in like just drying over time. It's interesting. I guess I see them both as unique products, you know, freeze-dried bubble hash and non-freeze-dried bubble hash. They're so different, but they're both still so fire. And of course, I'm talking 5 or 6 star, nothing less. Probably good to reiterate that importance when discussing and using the term bubble hash. Bunch of quiet motherfuckers in here. Bong rep?
Yeah, I'm trying to get this, trying to get Wade.
Wade? Oh yeah, Wade. Yeah, I talked to Alec from SC Labs last night, and he said he was down for coming in, but I think what's happened is he's not checked his phone this morning, so I don't know if he's going to make it in. And I'm not... I guess Natasha was saying that Stormy will try to come in next week as well.
Stormy, my cuz?
No, this is a different Stormy.
Yeah,
Yeah, after listening, I was listening last week, and then I heard, Darren, you talking about her being your cousin, and so we had met at what was it, ICVC, with Alex, with Marcus, remember? And yeah, so that's when I first met Stormy, and then we became just online friends. So I sent her a message and was like, "Oh, that's awesome! You and Darren are cousins. You should come on and whatever, come chill with us." So yeah, so she was gonna come today, but next week will work better. So she'll try to come on next week, and yeah.
Such a cool chick. Such a cool chick, and she's my cuz. Like, you know, the thing that I look at is out of the whole world, there's a lot of fucked up people out there. To get a cousin, to get someone that's family like that to come into my life, as cool as she is, you know, on every level, instead of just some full-on asshole type of person, because there's a lot of them out there. I could have got a lot worse. Could have done a lot worse than that, and that was like the cherry on the sundae. She's
and
awesome.
So you guys have been friends. You knew each other for how long?
For about a year and a half. I met her at one of the cups, Harvest Cup or something. I was doing dabs in the basement of this place, Forum, and I met her there. She was one of the Suicide Girls giving away dabs, and we were chit chatting. And then I seen her in Toronto, and I've seen her at all these events, and we've just always been really, really nice to each other. We always connected and had a good conversation every time. You know, we were both really hungry one time, and she was not feeling very good, so I went and got her some food and she can't just eat anything. I got her, you know, I just went out of my way for her because she's just that type of person. We had that kind of connection, but we didn't know we were cousins or anything. And then that whole thing come out with the article, and my sister sent me the message saying, "Yeah, our cousin put this up, and this is our cousin as well, but I've never met her." And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it when I seen it was a picture of Stormy and my sister telling me that this is our cousin. I was just blown away. So it was pretty cool. Very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, small world. Very cool. And so yeah, she'll come on, and she has a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but it's a genetic condition that has effects. So for instance, she was supposed to come on today, but she's very vocal about it on her Twitter account. So you guys should check out her Twitter. I'm not sure what her handle is. I think if you just searched Stormy or checked out who we follow, I can post it later. She's a very outspoken person trying to understand her body with dealing with this condition that has a lot of painful effects, and she uses cannabis to help manage a lot of her symptoms. And so that's originally what we started connecting about. And yeah, it'll be awesome to have her on and tell more about what she's up to. And
absolutely. I'll be seeing her as soon as I'm going down in a couple of weeks, and as I'm down there, I'll be grabbing her up and going and hanging out for sure, getting baked. Hello, Stormy. I know she's watching right now.
I'm feeling pretty baked, but I could always use another little bong rip.
And
it's almost 12 o'clock today.
You're right, Marcus. The winner at Legends was melon cookies, dry sip.
Melon cookies.
La Colada.
Remember how good it was?
Yeah, absolutely. But that was the judge's choice, first place. But if you remember, oh, you weren't there. That's right.
But I remember because I sold most of the tickets. So I saw the La Colada entry when we went there originally, and they pulled out. No, you're talking about the rosin from the UK, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I first saw that at my booth, and that's the one that won the People's Choice Award, you're saying?
Bingo, bingo. And
it was super Remember we were smoking it together with Tony in our hotel?
I couldn't decide if it had been fucked with or what, man. It was just such different.
Because when you exhaled it, it seemed like it was almost like some weird
dryer sheets.
Like,
yeah,
dryer sheets. There's something strange, like not right. And then, but then it was so good.
And it was the popular choice.
It was
that 710 extracts.
That was Team 10.
Team 10 extracts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah, those guys from.
No, they've been doing pretty good too since then. But they, I remember I asked them the same thing because it tasted like exactly like Downy or Bounce dryer sheets in my mouth on the exhale. Not like all the way like that, but it was the linger and the taste was almost artificial.
It definitely had artificial notes to it. It was, I mean, it was a winner for the popular choice, but for the judge's choice, it did not even place for first, second, third, or fourth.
Yeah, most people don't know it's a Legends is supposed to be a hash thing, so that's like it's got to be a sift or a full melt, like flour rosin or a hash rosin is good, but that's also oil,
Yeah, but rosin is although it wasn't made traditional, it's not using any sort of a chemical solvent or anything like that. So.
Well, how do you look at it then? Because isn't Legends a sift or a hash?
I don't know. You can hand rub.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can dry sift. You can water sift. Water sift wasn't around 100 years ago, but we include it, and I think rosin would be included too, at least in my book, because it's a natural hash. It's new technology, but
we want to smoke it, so it's allowed.
That's a good reason, Marcus. Because we decide.
Well, if you want to have,
I wanted to before I forget, I just wanted to remind people who are in Vancouver and area. This coming week, Dr. Mark Ware will be doing a free lecture at SFU Burnaby on Thursday. And he was on the task force, and he also is a researcher who does looking at how cannabis can help with pain. And yeah, so he's a good speaker. He'll be doing a talk on Thursday. And so this is the same session that's been put on by Simon Fraser University. So Ethan Russo did the first talk. John Page did a talk. And then last week, there was Dr. Francesca Philby that did
green terpenes.
A talk.
Go ahead.
And yeah, her talk was a little controversial pretty controversial because a lot of her research was, a bunch of prohibitionists. Seriously, she had all the right credentials, and she was from, I think, the University of Texas. But don't get me wrong, I think this session was great. And like I'm teaching one of the courses to the graduate students. I'm not doing a public lecture, but I'm doing one of the courses through the course to the graduate students on, I'm going to talk about cannabis for gut health and skincare. So anyway, like just to say I'm pro this lecture series, it's great. But this particular lecture was, you know, for instance, her research is all funded by NIDA, so it's very prohibitionist. Like the first slide, it's not, these are the numbers of cannabis users, it's these are the number of marijuana abusers, right? And then she's showing that classic thing about adolescents being the most highest group at risk because there's the highest numbers in treatment for cannabis. And then, you know, one of the first questions was like, isn't that just because they're forced to go, not because they actually have a problem? And she's like, well, yeah, I guess. But anyway, so then she's basically showing scans of brains and showing that in cannabis users, different areas either get bigger or smaller. And really, she's just showing some brain scans and then putting her opinion on what she thinks this means. And it's have proper controls. It's just, oh, really. And so, sure. And it's difficult to like be person because she's a very likable person. She's nice. She seems really kind, but it's just the lens she's looking at this research from and where her funding is coming from is making her just say things that are not true. And so anyway, the questions were fabulous. Everyone in the crowd really did a good job of just being calm, saying, you know, thank you for coming, but this isn't really appropriate. You know, what you said here doesn't really make sense. And it was actually quite interesting. David Hutchinson came up and asked a question, and he, you know, said, thank you for coming. You know, but what do you think about your research being funded by someone who has a, yet also holds, you know, the U.S. government holds patents on cannabis? Like, what do you think about that? And then that made her very stumble, didn't really know how to answer that. And then another person came up and asked, like cannabis in the evening. I choose that to relax instead of alcohol. Like, it helps me sleep. Am I an addict? You know, and then again, she got stumbly about responding to that answer. So it was good. People were polite, were calm, but challenged her viewpoints. And I would say it was interesting. Like, I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I watched it. It'll be available online, so it's worth watching just to kind of see what is being said. Propaganda type research that's going around. But anyway, the next session will be this week, and it'll be Dr. Mark Ware, and it'll be really good. So yeah, there'll be a good crowd. It's free. You can sign up. I'll post the link on the Hash Church thing so you guys can sign up for seats. And then there's also some future sessions too that are all free. So it's worth attending if you can get out to SFU Burnaby.
Was she the first one that was sort of prohibition based? Because I had seen Ethan was one of them, and
yeah. So Ethan's talk was awesome. It was all about terpenes, and he did a really good job of showing like the potential for all of these compounds. So he really went deep into like these and potential for how, like, what limonene can be used for, like how it could help with depression potentially. And then he was talking about just everything about all the terpenes, all the things we talk about on here about potential for terpenes. But he was going into the animal trials and just saying, like, this is where the research needs to go. So that talk was great. It generated a lot of discussion. People were really excited. And then John Page's talk was also really, really good. He was supportive of Ethan's talk and kind of giving him out some props and saying he agreed with some of his points. And again, like the session is called has marijuana, and so they both kind of did a corrective. You know, the term should be cannabis. Like, you know, we should be using this terminology. And then yeah, Jonathan Page's talk was more about the cannabis genetics. It was unlocking the secrets of the cannabis genome, and so he did more from the plant perspective. Very like good information, like positive, good interaction. And the thing about these talks is after there's a really good spread of food, like really nice. Like So, and they have a bar where you can purchase beverages. They have nice like organic coffee and stuff. So it generates a nice environment for people to hang out and continue to generate discussion. Like the sessions we stayed for, last session we had to leave early, but the 2 sessions before, like 2 hours just visiting, mingling. So, and met a lot of good people. It was basically the benefit of going to a $1,000 conference, but a free session. So I highly encourage you, if you're in the area, to take advantage of these things. Even just, you know, if you have a question, come check it out. It's worth it.
Yeah, I wish I had made Ethan's. I was so close, and then for the next one, I was out of town in Jamaica. But when is this upcoming one happening?
It's this Thursday, so March 2nd, I believe that is.
March 2nd. Well, I think I'm here, so I'll definitely try to check that out.
I have 3:30 on my calendar, but I think the talk actually starts at 4 at SFU Burnaby. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, that's nice that they're doing those.
Yeah, I've been trying to promote cannabis education at different research and school places in Vancouver. So, for instance, I had a meeting with the head of experimental medicine. That's the department that I graduated from with my PhD. And so had a meeting with him and was like, hey, you know, SFU is doing a cannabis education and so are these other things. Like, you don't want to be left out. And so anyway, they're interested. It's more trying to figure out how these programs could be implemented. And this would be more teaching researchers of the future cannabis research and what's happening already and how can they get involved, and even getting researchers like a place to find more students to help them do research, even learn how to work with different organizations to find funding to get a lot of this research done. So take up and get happening in Vancouver.
Well, it's good. I love when things happen in Vancouver, being, you know, here very nearby, just 20 or so minutes from the city. It's nice when an event happens. And I kind of dig this next level of events. I haven't been to the one that you just sort of explained to us, but I definitely want to check it out in the very near future. So hopefully I'll see you on Thursday, March the 2nd at 3:30, but the talk starts at 4.
To make sure we get there on time. Well, it's annoying because it's not in Vancouver. It's, you know, outside, so it takes at least an hour if you're leaving from Vancouver to get there. So after that, we'll actually be right in Vancouver at the SFU location. So, but I think one of them is already sold out, or like it's not sold out, but the spots that you can reserve are all gone. So there's only a wait. Oh, sorry, it's Anne, like talking again about and with the task force and the future of legalization. So that'll be a really popular, but again, they'll all be available online and people can access them even if they can't attend. Yeah, they'll be live streamed and then available again after the recording. Usually it's a few weeks once they get it up, but.
Nice. Well, on a completely different note, I saw that Roger Waters was touring again. Us Plus Them is the name of the tour. I don't know if you guys are fans, but I'll tell you, that Wall concert that he did, yeah, you can't even really call it a concert because it's such a next level thing. But I will definitely be going to see Roger Waters October 18th here in Vancouver. And I saw his tour was all over the place. So you should check out the city that you're living in. If you want to have like a near religious or spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it, you can have it with Roger. I'll tell you, that guy is on some next level shit when it comes to music and multimedia and the marriage of the two to produce this tertiary synergistic energy that is just otherwise does not exist. I'm telling you, it's the real deal. I am a fan. Go check out some Roger Waters. For those of you that didn't see the show that he did in Mexico recently, maybe even as far as a year ago or half a year ago, maybe it was in the fall, but he did that Wall concert and he did quite a bit of Trump stuff on the back of the wall. So that's worth checking out. I think it was during the Pigs song. maybe a couple other tracks, but definitely Google that, YouTube that, and watch that, because it is it's pretty enjoyable. Guy's an entertainer. What can I say? No Roger Water fans in the room or what? None of them? Pink Floyd? Come on. Everyone's just like, I don't know. Slayer. Actually, Roger Waters played with Slayer in the early days.
I like his music too, of course. Pink Floyd, all that stuff is for sure. Grew up with it.
Yeah, I went to like a couple of these. I forget what they call them, but they have like this special double-sided sphere inside a hemisphere in a science building.
Oh, right, like those what are they called? The laser shows?
Right, where it's like the whole space thing. You sit back in the chair.
Yeah, Pink Floyd laser.
Planetarium.
There we go.
Planetarium.
Bam.
Yep, the planetarium.
So they did their music was doing like a tour through through that type of atmosphere. When I was a kid, I remember going to a couple times, just like listening to Pink Floyd and watching like the planets and stuff and stars.
The laserium, as Trichome Farmer puts it. The laserium.
Laserium. That's it.
Jeez, damn, taking it to the next level.
Tony, what are these green terpenes? You know?
I don't know. Terpenes aren't green though.
Yeah, you sure about that?
I don't know. Mark's sitting right there. He'll tell you that there's no such thing as color with terpenes.
Oh yeah, I think all Mark or you could say is you haven't seen them yet.
I told him that terpenes had color, and he said no, it's impossible. So I'm staying to his side.
Well, I got Mark Scaldone sitting right here, and he said azurine is blue, and there's yellow ones, and the two combine to make a green one. So you're about as far off base as you can be.
I've always said that terpenes had color, but Mark said they did not.
My vote is color. I've seen terps with color.
Plus yellow equals green, so maybe it's azulene with like a yellow. Show me yellow terpene. You have a yellow terpene.
So here's the thing. Time out. Aren't you a chemist that can test these things, Mark? Why are we guessing?
Oh, because we're just sitting here. I don't have like a.
But in the future, potentially, you can take some of those.
I tell you what, if we were not penalized by prohibition and anybody could have a gas, mass spectrometer gas chromatograph in their living room and just say, hey, you know what? We just isolated this stuff. Let's shoot it on and see what it is.
Well, what about SC Labs?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that we're enjoying dabbing it too much to still have a remainder.
That is the opposite. That is the opposite of the scientist that you are. That I thought you would respond. Don't you want to know what it is as a scientist?
Yeah, I kind of do want to know what it is, but I'm going to ask India to reproduce it and make sure it's not some anomaly. We
already reproduced this here.
This was an argument we had a long time ago that I said this was all the same 73 from the same run of hash, and all I did was add different terpenes to it and it had different colors. And I thought that either terpenes had colors or terpenes combined with THC, an organic plant matter form of resin, created some kind of color spectrum, and you shut it down.
No. What I think I shut down was the fact that, like, if you distill like a single compound, a single monoterpene, like myrcene or limonene or something like that, normally those things as pure compounds are clear liquid, is almost as clear as water. And what will happen is if you leave the lid off, it'll start to turn yellow because they begin to oxidize on exposure. And so typically what happens is a lot of the color comes from oxidative degradation products that's only there in very, very minute quantities. It only takes a little bit of the degradation product to color a whole lot of terpene. So this could be, theoretically, again, I just said this to John as a reasonable explanation. Perhaps it is azulene, and perhaps he's trapped azulene, which we know is a blue colored terpene, right? It's blue. It's blue. You've seen it before.
But it would have to be a very
bottle.
But
And
then
it's
it would
kinda
have to
like
be
a light-
pure azulene for it to be blue, is all I'm saying. Jim Frere extracted it some years ago as well. He used some different
Mark,
things
when you
to do it.
combine blue with yellow, you get green.
Yeah, so like
At least in my box of
there
crowns.
could be a mixture of other terpenes in
Hey,
there
you know
that
what?
have, like,
Get back to us when you've tested it. Talking about what it could be is about as useful as tits on a bull. Test it out. Let us know what it is, and we'll continue the conversation.
I just saw it for the first time about 48 hours ago. I mean, I saw
I
it
know,
like everybody else. You know,
Hold it back up. Hold it back up.
And I would be
That's
like,
great.
"Oh, what the fuck, man? Terpenes aren't green. What the fuck is that?" Well, now I'm actually here to see the what the fuck it is moment. You know, so I could actually see it, smell it, taste it, and yeah, ultimately we have to test it. But
There it is.
yeah,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Let's see it again, though.
you have to
How does it taste?
before going through here
Let's
first.
see it again, and let's talk
How
about
does it taste, Mark?
Hold it up again. Hold it up. Hold it up. With the
How
light.
does it taste, guys? Is it a good terp?
Oh, it's got a very nice, mild, not strong or biting essence in and of itself. It's got a very unique flavor. I don't think I've ever tasted anything quite like it. It's very interesting, and it's terpene. It's not hash. So what did we dip the dabber in some extract and then dip that into that? Is that what we did?
We dipped the dabber.
Someone else prepared the dab for me.
We dipped it in the terpene first and then put it on the dab of oil.
He had to fly out to California to catch up to that.
Okay, so we had some
He's finally catching up to what a terp
I hope
is.
this isn't indicative.
Oh
I hope this isn't indicative of how he tests in a lab.
Available. So we dipped a clean dabber into the terpene first, and then put some THCA on the dabber.
Yeah.
And then that's what I dabbed. Yeah. Yeah, it was delicious. It was wonderful. I don't know how to describe it. It was like it's a new thing that I've never tasted before, and it didn't seem planty or burnt or any overpowering like some other terpenes. It was very good.
And have you hit a lot of the different sort of terpenes that are out on the market, like Baker's, whatever his name is, Baker's Bubble or Blue River or Coleman from Colorado or any of these guys?
Well, the thing of it is, Mark, that there's pretty much two.
Well, I was asking Mark.
He's asking me. Yeah, I have. Some of them are I don't find them very tasteful at all. I find them overpowering. Some of them are good. I can't generalize, Mark. I've had different experiences.
No, you can call out the ones that were shitty and call out the ones that were good. By all means,
I don't want to do that. Come on.
Of course,
man.
why not? You don't want to be honest?
No. Oh, come on now. I don't. Let me put it this way. I don't have
Listen,
the breadth
we're
of
not getting
experience.
paid by anyone, so it's very, very fair to call out ones that weren't what you
breadth of experience. I don't have the breadth of experience to be able to say that they're better or worse than anyone else's.
Either way,
all.
let's the green terpene you have.
It was good.
Okay, so was it green from the beginning, from the time you saw it, or did it combine with another terpene?
Nonsense question. Was it green from the time you saw it?
Yeah, it's a green liquid in the bottom of the vial. Just like
what I'm saying is, was it extracted from a plant, all from a single source?
No, it wasn't extracted from the plant.
It was the extractor. I'm the taster.
It was extracted from 5-year-old train wreck that I extracted 5 years ago. And so I froze it on the same day, and it remained frozen until I decided to try to see if there was terpenes available in it yet. And I've collected now a second round of terpenes from the same stuff, and it's pretty much the same way. They're almost fluorescent antifreeze, and at some angles they look greener, and some angles they look yellower. But they still hold the same extreme good hash smell. It smells like the best hash ever. And I think it's definitely perfume fodder is what it is, because a drop of it in a cap full of alcohol, and then I spread some on the back of my hand, and it definitely changed the scent when it went on the back of my hand.
It doesn't remain tacky.
It didn't remain tacky.
Yeah, so it's definitely cannabinoid free, something trapped from the distillate of John's extract. Could it be terpenes? Could it be something else, another volatile essence or a volatile fraction? I mean, this could be the aha moment of discovery. When we run an NMR and we run a GC mass spec on it, we might see some terpenes that we know, or we might discover something completely new. That's what's really cool about it. So, Mark, I'm totally on board with you. I'm a scientist, and I want to know what it is. John wants to know what it is. But the first step is, well, here it is. Hey, that's just where we're at right now. Is here it is.
Well, it's like all science. You look at it. You touch
what I'm just saying is it won't take very long to get it to the next level is all I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
not that
well-
hard for John, who probably has the ability to test it in his basement or something, who's had access to these machines, who's in California, to get it tested. I mean, remember when Tony brought out the terpenes? One of the first things he said, let's test it. What's in it? What's in it? What's in it? Well, he went and got it tested, and now we know what's in his terpenes. You can go on his website and you can look at all the varieties, and SC Labs has like breakdowns on each one. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying I'd love to know what it is, what the breakdown.
Well, we know that there's more than 140 different terpenes in cannabis.
Yep, we do.
And probably Tony's been getting a certain fraction or selection of fractions. And with this different method that I went about, I collected a fraction that hasn't previously been collected in enough of a amount to identify and look at it. That's the only difference that's going on here. I managed to find.
You might need a proton NMR.
So even more exciting to have it tested and to discover something that was otherwise undiscovered.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's going to go down to the guys.
And when we know that next Sunday, everybody else will know. We'll tell everybody.
Yes. Well, I wasn't saying you needed to know right this minute. I was just saying it needs to happen. I would never have expected a chemist to argue against testing something to know what it is ever.
Yeah, well, we're going to name it Indraene, right? Because since there was already a hash machine, we're going to call it Indraene. For now, it's Indraene, and we'll figure out what it is later.
Well, I was thinking on calling one of them hash churchiene.
Yeah, hash churchiene. We were thinking.
What you have to recognize here, Mark, is forget the testing for a second. These two guys have been smoking this terpene that was derived from a hash that's 5 years old with a very unique process that has produced a combination in a single source terpene to where one was yellow and one was blue, which created a green terpene.
Wait a minute, Tony. That's a hypothesis. Don't jam that hypothesis in on what's going on.
So isn't it a hypothesis of saying
I'm not saying that this is two terpenes. I'm saying that two of the terpenes.
Two terpenes would have
a color of yellow.
Right.
One of them is blue. That's all I'm saying.
Of course, that's how you make green. That's all I'm saying. I'm just repeating the information that he said. That whatever came out of that extract had created two unique. Now, I think the yellowing could come from the age, and then the blue could be the fact that you did this in a certain process that was able to remove that terpene that Mark is talking about that is blue, and voila, you might have a green terpene. So regardless, you have a vial of green terpenes extracted from a 5-year hash that you've been smoking for 2 days. So I think that's cool, and that's what I'm saying you should Marcus as Bubble Man should recognize that, like, they're in day 2, bro. They're day 2.
Hey, time out. Let me educate you guys as to something. Indra's been sending me pictures of the green terpenes for weeks, not for 2 days. Okay. So I'm a little, I've been seeing it for a little bit longer. I know how long it's existed. There's enough time to have had it be tested.
I got you. Well, I have an account. If you guys want to test it, we could send it in. And you only need if you want to test, if you really truly want to get everything tested, 1 mil would allow them to do residuals, 37 terpenes, and you might be right. It might not even be on their chart. It would give you potency, cannabinoids. They'd be able to do a lot with 1 mil, but you might have to use your NMR. I mean, like what you do, Mark, like to find out what it really is.
The great thing is we could run an NMR and then use that material and get an HPLC after that.
Yeah.
NMR doesn't destroy it. So, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it could be easily be a mixture of several compounds. And so that's why you can't necessarily look at the color of the material and say, well, it all belongs to one compound. There could be several different compounds in there. But the other thing is that, you know, again, green, as we know, is the color of the plant itself. And, you know, that's in this pigment called chlorophyll.
Yeah, but this came from hash. This came from an extract.
Right, which is non-volatile. And so,
but it came from oil, not
it came from, yeah, it came from oil, which has no chlorophyll. I've smoked that oil that you're talking about.
So the element of this discovery could be is that some way in this extract, there's a way of just pulling some kind of green essence from the plant that's not chlorophyll. That can be extremely exciting scientifically. I mean,
Burrowhead, change your name to
what else is
Bonehead.
in the plant that's green that's not chlorophyll? Right, Mark, I think we casually had this conversation on a Facebook thread. We were talking about green, like what is in plants that is green that's not chlorophyll. Well, you know, maybe this. I don't know. We'll see.
And that might involve testing to a little bit deeper than the 20 to 30. That
chemistry, it all goes together. So we could run an NMR, we could run an HPLC, we could look to spike it with known terpenes to see if the peak grows, so we can identify that peak.
Well, the point is, this is something that hasn't really been seen up till now. All I'm saying is, here's something new. It smells like the best hash I've ever smelled in my life, or I haven't smelled yet. And
well, it doesn't smell like hash.
To you think he thinks it smells like fish oil.
No, I didn't say fish oil. I say extremely floral, like a floral.
All right, so it was actually 3 weeks ago that I got the picture of this oil. 3 weeks ago, he sent me the green terps. So this has been an ongoing conversation. I'm just saying,
get it tested.
Hey, I'll look forward to having it tested, and then it will be less of a guess, less of a hypothesis of something that's been created that's never been created before, and more of a here's the fucking paperwork to back up exactly what I said.
Let me pull my mass spec out of my pocket here.
Dude, I can't believe you don't roll with it, Mark.
I got it through TSA. They wanted to know what all that instrumentation in my pocket was. I said, no, I'm just going to see my friend to test his terpenes.
I can't believe you didn't bring a 200
in my pocket.
Yeah, I'm surprised Mark doesn't travel with one. I know kids that travel with 250 Pelican cases.
Listen, a 250 megahertz NMR could, you know, it's like a big water heater. You could travel around with that, man. You could put it in a case and no problem.
Well, Marcus, as you well know, there's nothing like better than put something in a rocket.
Look at Scott Jones' face.
So
I'm telling you, look at Mark's face. He's been on this stuff 2 days.
Look at UCSF, and I can just basically walk down to his lab and say, hey, can you run an NMR of this?
Boom, look at that. See him?
I'll try to do that Monday or something like that.
Chemistry baller in the house. Anyway, listen, I got to go, guys. I'm not running Hash Church anyway. Todd is. Hopefully he's still here. I got to go drive back to Whistler and back to pick up my kid. I actually drove him this morning and then raced back to be on Hash Church to my house.
Squeeze it out too.
Yeah, so anyway, have a good one, guys. Hope you have a great day, and thanks everyone for watching. We will see you guys next time.
Drive safe, brother.
Peace out.